that.
Revolution Radio, Radio, Radio.
For allowing us to bring you a platform of free speech.
P.O.W.E.R. Street Gang, this is all fighting. Standing by, over. P.O.W.E.R. Street Gang, this is all fighting. Standing by, over.
Right now, it's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines,
clock's run out. Time's up.
Wind is blowing cold and dark. On the road and no way out. Broken house, the smoking gun. On the run. On the run.
As the 21st century began, human evolution was at a turning point. Natural selection, the process by which the strongest, the smartest, the fastest reproduced in greater numbers than the rest, a process which had once favored the noblest traits of man, now began to favor different traits. Most science fiction of the day predicted a future that was more civilized and more intelligent. But as time went on, things seemed to be heading in the opposite direction, a dumbing down. How did this happen? Evolution does not necessarily reward intelligence. With no natural predators to thin the herd, it began to simply reward those who reproduced the most and left the intelligent to become an endangered species.
It's Friday night. My name's Jimmy. I'll be your friendly narrator for the next 3 hours. Into the Microcosm is on the air.
Deep depression, can't seem to move it forward. My life has a highway, not sure what I am into. I never died before. Yeah, what happened yesterday? I never stole the crown. Flip through endless stories, a life of a handwritten pen. No wonder share this earth that is mine. I never died before. Can't be what happened yesterday. I should have stole the crown.
Epic Journeyman. Are you there?
I am here.
Excellent. Well, watch out. You're in the land of freewheeling good laughing, having a good time. What do they do in the islands for Christmas? Do they put lights up on the palm trees and stuff?
Not here in Maui. They do in Oahu, actually. Like in Honolulu, in places there they do, but not so much here. But yeah, everybody just goes to his family pretty much. Everybody's always going to another island to visit another relative, which means people on that island are coming over here. Then it's kind of funny that way. But a lot of travel going on. It's raining right now, man. So it's been a pretty miserable week. I've been working on my computer all week, so that's been my lead into the holidays.
It's been a miserable week, says the epic journeyman. It's been
not
raining.
miserable. Like I run into the tourists who are coming over here, even though it's raining. Like, oh, it's so warm though. I don't care that it's raining. Because they're coming from South Dakota or whatever, right? North Dakota, So it's great for them. They don't care.
Well,
it's still 75 degrees.
There's plenty to talk about tonight, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit later on, we're going to be talking about the rainbow in the dark in the second hour. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on that I think we need to touch on. But in order to do that, we got to reach out. He's here. He's there. He's everywhere. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Pacific, the Independent Broadcast Network. You'll find him from the Talamaico Mountains deep in the UN Heritage Site.
Way of dealing.
Bruce McDonald, are you there?
Live and ready to go, Jimmy.
That's good. Well, I see you got yourself one of those. What was that thing called you got on the end of your mic there? I forget what those things are called. I know it.
Foam.
Yeah, you got one of those foam things. So that's.
I call it a mic condom.
Yeah, well, it looks good. I mean, it looks like you got a chair. Now, what is that chair? You got a gate?
You've seen this chair before. It's just a slightly different angle. I changed my gear all around, man. So my new Toshiba Dynabook, I decided since I got Starlink, because the old internet system I had, Windows wouldn't let me get on the internet, right? Because anyways, long, complicated story. So I tried Windows 11. I put it on the computer over there. This one is still my Linux box. I fried the MacBook Pro 2019, $1,500. I didn't fry it, but they won't activate it for me. And I tried to update it to Sonoma. And the guy that did the bypass really just did a hack bypass. It wasn't a real bypass. But I kind of got hooked. So when Brandon comes from Canada, January 15th, he's bringing a Mac Mini I bought with an M1 and 16 gigabyte of RAM because I want to have a Mac box here too.
Oh, there you go. Well, you should try making one of these. There's a Mac Mini iPad combination. I'll send you the
I might do that.
Yeah,
I might do that. You sent me that before. There's a little dongle you plug in, and I might very well do that.
No,
I got a bunch of extra monitors and 32-inch TVs here. Right?
Let's not bore the shit out of people with a bunch of technical shit here at the beginning.
People
of the
love
show.
this shit, Jimmy.
They
love
it. No, they don't. They've been listening to this shit all week. What they want to know is what the hell's going on in the world and what we think about it. I think that's what they want to know. I don't know, but I'm sure we're full of opinions tonight, and I'm sure we'll be opening up the phones a little bit later. Somebody made the suggestion that you should start your own casual clothing line called The Unwashed, and just have a bunch of like stonewashed T-shirts, some shorts, some hats. The Unwashed by Bruce McDonald. I mean, that's the only thing you haven't gotten into yet is clothing. You really should just throw your name on some, go find yourself some shirts and just call it The Unwashed, and boom. Next thing you know, you got yourself a whole thing going.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea at all, man. My own line of flip-flops or chancletas.
There you go. And just have like a cartoon character of yourself, be the guy, be the picture.
Yeah.
Just put right little tag on their sandals.
The advertising campaign writes itself, right? From the Talamaico Mountains, the Unwashed brings you.
I know, but listen,
whatever, right?
Well, check this out.
The sandals or the gear or the
So you live
backpack. You got to make the backpack, the expedition backpack.
You
got to have that.
You live in Hawaii, so you know.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of this? There's a whole bunch of There's a shirt line, a clothing line called Red Dirt. Have you heard about it?
Oh yeah, dude, you should see my shoes.
Dirt. What? There's
Maui. Yeah,
that's what I mean.
No,
Somebody just said,
"Sweet."
I'm serious. Go on the internets and check it out. Red Dirt. You can buy clothing there by the Red Dirt people. Because there's
I'll send you a picture of my shoes, man. It didn't start off red.
There's red dirt everywhere, isn't there?
Yeah, in Maui. Yeah, if you go up in the Kaanapali side, up above the coffee farms up there, or up to Kapalua, stops in Kapalua, but that whole section there, it's like that Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina kind of thing. It's just that red kind of dirt and mud, and it gets on everything, and it doesn't come out. So my shoes, I've had gray shoes, tan shoes, brown shoes, all kinds of shoes. They all end up red because of that.
Well, there it does not come out. See, Bruce? Red Dirt. They came up with an idea. Boom, they're selling shirts. They took everything turns red, and they made some shirts out of it. Now you got to.
Nice.
I mean, it's the American spirit to just take something and make, lemonade, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, this
absolutely.
It's interesting. Have you been taking a look at these? What's been going on this week, Bruce? At all on your show? What was the main,
I'm all over the news, man.
Well, let me ask you this: on your news palette this week, what was the biggest item that you saw that really rang your bell and made you want to get up there and talk about it? What was it that really just twisted your stuff in a
Okay,
wall?
well, for me, it was Colorado and Trump being taken off the ticket.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge thing. Now, this has nothing to do with what you think about Trump. This has to do about a functioning democracy, okay? And January 6th was not an insurrection. That's ridiculous to call it an insurrection, okay? It's absolutely ridiculous. And to have him taken off the ballot for those reasons. Now, gentleman by the name of Sean Ryan, ex-Navy SEAL, who does a magnificent podcast called the Sean Ryan Podcast, interviewed one of the lead lawyers for Trump. He's off the case now, but he did a lot of the preparatory work. It's like 3 hours, spread out over 2 podcasts. If you want to know what's going on, and it's unbelievable the amount of lies they've told about everything. I know Epic doesn't like to hear this, but there was no classified material at Mar-a-Lago. It's just unbelievable what's going on behind the scenes here.
Listen, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you some behind the scenes right now.
All right.
Okay. Trump is playing the outsider role. And all of this stuff that we're seeing, every single time one of these things crops up, they are literally throwing a red flag down in front of every white Christian conservative in the United States of America saying, come on, man, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? You're not going to do shit.
Talking.
You're not going to do anything, and they smack you in the face again in front of everybody. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing, because there's nothing you can do about it, because it's literally a train out of control. And they're not going to stop until Trump's the character to start the Civil War. Look at the marketing. Look at the marketing that's been going on. Look at this marketing. Go ahead, Epidurn.
No, it is. I mean, it's the fourth turning from accelerationism, and that's what it is. Generational theory. That's exactly what it is. And so the thing about it is that Bannon is being overt about it. Bannon and Dugan are both being overt about it. I mean, if they weren't speaking out, it would happen like it always does, and nobody would know until it happened. But they're saying it out, out loud, right? And so the thing is, there is a rule. I mean, it is a constitutional rule. The third Article 3 of the 14th Amendment. If you've participated in an insurrection, you can't hold public office. Yeah, but it's the same as like not being.
It wasn't an insurrection, though.
Well, that's where that's what you have to iron out, right?
No, because in the end, is it going to make any difference? Is Trump another version?
It's not going to make any difference. It's not going to make.
Yeah, no, probably not. But
it's the mega confederacy is basically. That's what it is. It's happening either way. And they said they prepped us for it for years, and they said the South is going to rise again. They meant it. That's what this is. And so what's going to happen? It's going to happen one way or another. Even if he loses, which I suspect he probably will, then what'll happen is he won't lose. He'll still rally the remaining core of his followers and get them to partake in the secession and a new confederacy, which is what Abbott and Cruz have been putting themselves in place for this whole time. If you follow the people who are seceding without seceding and saying it openly, although I think Cruz has said it openly, they're putting themselves in position.
Yeah. So the question was addressed to me. What was the thing that jumped out the most? That was it. Okay.
That's like red meat. That was like red.
It's very interesting. Those of you who aren't on YouTube, you got to see Jimmy tonight. He looks like some Jew killing Cossack.
that Daniel Boone.
Look at they each see a different character. Bruce.
Yeah,
Bruce. That's not a Daniel Boone hat. Come on, man. That's a Cossack raider, man.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it's from Spies Like Us, right?
That's so funny. No, listen. No, that was red meat. That was red meat on the table, Bruce. I appreciate you bringing. Yeah. I appreciate you bringing.
Do you think they want? Let's poll the brain trust here, the three of us. Do you guys think they want? Do you think a civil war would be good for them? Like it would get them off the hook? Do you think the noose is tightening and they'll do anything now to flush to distract people?
Well, I think it's accelerationism's end, right? I mean, that's the whole idea, is to get it over with now. And so that's the easiest way to do it, is if you take America out and get them fighting, if you're looking at it objectively and not being an American from someplace else, then that'll spread like wildfire. If there's nobody to hold down the fortress, so to speak, of liberty in the sense of democracy as a valid system of government, then it all collapses.
Do you guys know how long they've been trying to get the white Christian conservative gun owners to start shooting? I mean, it's literally been going on for over a decade. I mean, it started with Ron Paul, basically, when Ron Paul ran for president, and then they had the coffee party and all that shit. I mean, and there was just been one thing after another, after another, after another. They're chipping away and chipping away and chipping away. And here we are. It's 2023, Bruce. It's 2023.
Yeah, you're right, Jimmy. I can't deny this. But I'll take one step back and even get a Kubrick wider lens on this.
Okay.
It's really about killing Americans. Whether they kill each other in a civil war, whether they find an excuse to send them to the Ukraine, or whether they find an excuse to send them to the Middle East to get bombed by Iran. Neither one of those wars is winnable. We can't win Ukraine. Israel is finished, okay? If Israel doesn't make peace before Easter of next year, it won't exist by 2025. That you heard it here first on Into the Microcosm, ladies and gentlemen. So everything about the West is failing now. We can't win a simple war to defend Ukraine. We can't defend Israel. And my thinking is this all intentional? Because you go back to those Deagle. How are you going to get rid of 200 million Americans, man? Michelle Pfeiffer didn't do the job. They got to come up with some other stuff to hit those Deagle numbers.
They're going to starve them to death, man, because 100 million Americans are out of work right now. Do you know that 62% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck?
Jimmy, are the other? If that happens, if the food supply chain falls, there'll be somebody making $100,000 a year with a grub cuisine YouTube channel, how to cook grubs. Okay, Americans are a very resourceful people. It's very hard to starve people. Do either one of you guys ever study the Cultural Revolution? Because that's what Mao tried to do.
That's funny.
The Chinese figured out how to eat everything. They had cockroach recipes. They had everything.
They said it's funny that you should bring that up, because I saw somebody that said America today is similar to the way China was right before their Cultural Revolution.
Jimmy, I watched a documentary this week on the Long March, and I'm no commie, but I did come to respect Mao Zedong, man. Like, those dudes, in the initial stages of that war, 9 out of 10 of the original people in the top 50,000 people in the army, right down to like whatever level, the major or sergeant level, 9 out of 10 of them were dead in the first 7 or 8 years of battling the Nationalist Army. And the Long March was brilliant, actually.
Well, listen.
But yeah, man.
Listen, there's a bunch of stuff going on in China right now. I mean, especially there's another one of these Evergrande type situations going on, filing for bankruptcy. Do you know the name of that organization, Bruce? It's a big one. It's like the second
not off the
biggest
top
one.
of my head. No,
well,
but there's.
They're saying that the real estate is about to collapse in China as far as the real estate market, and that's what. See, remember those Epic Journeyman. Remember those cities those ghost cities. They're saying no.
Absolutely.
Okay, listen.
Yeah.
No one realizes this, but in China, investing in real estate and having these investments in real estate is how people, stash their money. And so they would build these buildings, and people own condos there, but nobody lives in it. Nobody lives in it.
Yeah, it was a New Silk Road. That's what it was. Build these cities along the New Silk Road system, highway and transportation system, and they were going to get the people that were working to build them to live in them. Essentially, right? That was the idea.
Drinking rat milk.
And the thing is,
listen,
that's not going to happen.
Listen, let's get out of the Far East, and let's come back over here to the Middle East, because there's some shit going on over there in the Red Sea, and
yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Yemen. I've seen some intense chatter on the back channels that Yemen has acquired an ultrasonic missile capability
from Iran. Yeah,
and they will be picking something off momentarily. Have you guys heard any of this, and what do you think about that?
Yeah. So before I go into my spiel here, I want to ask Epic. Epic, what do you think of Scott Ritter? Because he's everywhere now. He's the go-to guy for the military voice in the bigger than boutique alternative media, like Redacted. But those outlets with like 2-3 million subscribers that are trying to do near professional YouTube-based journalism, and they're contrarian and alternative. But Scott Ritter is the go-to guy. Okay, now he's the guy I got my information. He says there's no way America can win a war with Iran. Okay, because you can't. Iran, very mountainous. You can't take over the country. Everybody's got a gun in Iran. You think this is the thing? Like, people think Americans are armed. I don't know. No, man. Like, you go to New York, nobody's got guns except the criminals. You come to Costa Rica, everybody's got a piece. I'm the only guy on this mountain without a piece. Well, everybody in Central America. The Nicaraguans come to cut my abaca. Bruce, why don't you have a gun? I don't know. Do I need a gun? Everybody has a gun. Get a gun, Bruce. Get a 22 with a scope.
You know what, man? They're saying down there at the bottom of the mountain.
Yeah.
They're saying to their other brothers, they're saying, hey, man, there's a whitey up there. He ain't got no gun. Why don't you go pay him a visit?
You got to be careful of that, Bruce. That's no joke.
Bruce.
That happened to me in Maui, actually.
Yeah.
Well, but I got a bunch of family and close neighbors I've helped that are armed, right?
That's what I said, dude. You ought to hire. I said you've reached the level there on the mountain where you need to hire some permanent guards with Uzis in high towers around the corners of your property line. You got to keep out the unwanted.
Yeah, I think John Z's coming back in February. We'll give him that detail. But
So you asked about Scott Ritter. I mean, there's a lot of controversy about him right now. I've seen a lot of action on YouTube about why is Scott Ritter still out there and relevant or whatever. You can say it's a campaign, and it might be right. The thing is, he's kind of getting the Andrew Tate treatment, and Andrew Tate deserved it. So the question is, does Scott Ritter deserve it? And I'm not sure. I don't know.
Did Andrew Tate renounce?
He's a pimp.
Did he renounce?
He's a pimp. He's literally a pimp.
Did he renounce? I heard that he's now a Christian.
No, he's a Muslim.
No, he said he's not a Muslim anymore. Now he's a Christian.
Oh, what's he going to be next week? What, the gay? Is he going to be the gay next week? Come on.
He might be. He's posting those pictures of his body out there, and X, right? Have you seen that lately? Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, the guy, he's like a one-man operation walking around.
Listen, let's not go away from this. I want to come back to the Red Sea here, but let's.
The Red Sea is important. We were talking about the Houthis and Tutsis from Rwanda, right?
Let me just give the listeners the basic laydown here about what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, Yemen has done to the Red Sea what the truckers in Canada did to Ottawa 2 years ago. Okay, during the Michelle Pfeiffer incident, okay? That's what they've done. So they're saying that Israel is losing like $1 billion a day in trade. By the way, Israel makes a lot of money, man. There's only 8 million people there, like 6 million Israeli Jews and 2 million Arab Israelis. And they're bringing down a GDP that would put most G7 countries to shame. So they're losing $1 billion a day. The whole Middle East has turned on them.
So there's let me
so
get
much
this
for
straight.
the Abraham
Hold
Accord.
on a second. Let me get this straight. You say there's 8 million residents in Israel, and there's how many Jews?
About 6.
How many?
Well,
6 what?
6.
6 what?
6 million.
Okay, yeah, it's an interesting number. Anyways, Epic Journeyman. Let's come back to this, but I wanted to.
Jimmy.
But
you queued me up there like a caddy putting my golf ball up on the tee.
Listen, what I wanted to say is it's getting to the point in America where we need to go and everybody just needs to be able to open carry no matter where you are. It should just be straight away open carry, 6 guns on the leg or whatever it's going to be, because it's getting to that point.
Are you serious, Jimmy?
I'm dead serious.
Like, do you feel tense
Yes.
going into the convenience store to get your malt liquor?
No, I don't feel tense.
Actually, it's funny you should mention that. I actually was in the store here recently, and some guy had his hand in his pocket, is in front of me walking by. He wasn't in line. There's only a couple convenience stores, so to speak, open here. I won't say which one, but the guy walks up, and the guy behind me in line, we're still waiting to get in line, goes, "Uh-oh," right? I'm looking at the guy, and so I'm like, this might be one of those desperate moments. I don't know. And I had cans in my hand, right? And I just kind of acted like I was stretching and put them in my head. so that I'm ready to slam them down and hurl them at the guy if some action takes place. Because that's how you have to think that way now. You always have had to think that way. You're more aware of it now.
Where you are, and even though where Epic is literal paradise. Okay,
that's pretty nice.
You could literally.
Where are you now, Epic?
Listen to me.
If you're not in Lahaina,
hang on a second. Hang on a second. Listen.
Okay.
Where he is, you would think you're in paradise, right? But there's a lot of people in Hawaii, and that don't have any money at all. And it's
a lot of drugs too.
Right? There's places.
You could be anywhere. You could be at any place at any. You don't have to be in a ghetto or whatever over in Hawaii. You could just be anywhere. 7-Eleven, gas station, whatever. There's people around that don't have money because people are struggling. Can you imagine struggling on an island where you can't get no money? There is no money.
Yeah.
There's no more.
Yeah.
Where you get your food from? You got to buy your food somewhere. You got to get it somehow. Don't you?
Well, you're on an island. Everybody's going to know you did it. You know what I mean? Like they call it the island radio gossip over here. It's island radio. You can't outrun the island radio, man. Forget this modern technology.
Yeah, well,
somebody's anti or somebody's bro.
All of a sudden, it seems to be all right to rob the white guy though, and nobody gets in trouble. You can chop a head off with a machete, and it'll be I was just trying to get some bread from my family.
I think we need to focus on this Hootsie thing a little bit more, right? Because in this idea of Yemen, because I'm going to put something esoteric out there that I think a lot of us have paid attention to maybe in the past, and they maybe didn't pay enough attention to. And obviously we know about the USS Cole that's the initiation of Al-Qaeda declaring war in the United States. It saluted on the little motorized barge that drove into the ship as they blew themselves up and damaged that ship and killed 37 sailors or something like that. But that act of war, at least it was a military target. But something else happened in the mid 2000s, around 2000. I want to say 13. We have to look it up. I don't know for sure. That they had that anomaly that showed up, that vortex that showed up, right?
I forgot all about that.
Yeah,
what's funny?
Ever since then, Yemen. Right after that, those same rebels, those Houthi rebels, attacked Saudi Arabia with their drones, right? And then after that, the Saudis went to war and they've been buying weapons from us ever since to fight this rebel group, right? They don't call themselves Al Qaeda, excuse me. And then since then, now all of a sudden they have these modern weapons from Iran that they're launching at our carrier task force and at Israel. I mean, this is a big deal, man. I mean, and it makes you wonder. It's something I hate to use that word like spontaneously spawned, a term, but in a way it is. Like, since that event, a lot of shit has been happening.
I know, and the thing is that Yemen has basically been at war since that happened.
Yeah,
and Yemen is always stuff going on there, all the time. It's like a training ground. But I'll tell you right now, what's going on there is potential. It's like a kill shot for the American military if they get drug into some situation. over there.
Yeah.
It's like it's stupid to float some giant boats, right in front of the guy with the hypersonic missile. But,
I lobby about that all the time. Like how stupid that is.
But listen,
yeah,
here's the thing. I want to point this out, and I think the people of America and people of all countries everywhere, including Iran, because I think people think there's a misconception about Iran and Iraq and all these different places. Like in America, a lot of Americans' minds, the videos they see are like these sepia tone, dusty shitholes with mud shacks and people riding camels. But that's not what it's like. I mean, Iran is a vibrant, modern society, just like America is. It doesn't. I mean, if you go on YouTube and go do a 4K walk in Iran and see what's going on there, it's not what you think.
No, people. I knew a lot of Iranians. The last place I lived in Toronto, in the west end of Toronto, it was like Turks and Iranians. That's where I met the Sufis and everything. I had a lot of Arab friends, man. Hung around with them quite a bit. Iranians are incredibly sophisticated, man. They're a Levi's 501 Bluntstone society. They're not a burqa society.
No.
Right?
No, and just laying over there all this time thinking that, things are a certain way. I mean, when the drone landed over there when Obama was president, and the drone just happened to land over there in Iran. So, I mean, that was how many years ago, Epic Journeyman, did the drone accidentally land in Iran? I forget how long.
12 years ago, I think.
Okay,
they hijacked the frequency, supposedly, and landed it over there.
Okay,
I always wondered about that because,
So now 12 years. Let me ask you this question. Now it's such a hard thing to build a giant.
I know where Jimmy's going with this.
Intercontinental ballistic missiles and all this shit. I mean, all you need is one of those drones. What was that? Like a Predator drone? Epic Journeyman?
No, actually it wasn't. It was the Boeing one. One of the still at the time
the super long range ones, huh?
XB-47. Anyway, yeah, it wasn't on the Predator, even the Reapers or whatever. It was one that isn't in production yet at the time. Well, it wasn't supposedly in production yet at the time, so it makes it even worse.
So they reversed engineered it,
course.
and they're giving drones to everybody in the Middle East now.
That's right. Everybody's
got them.
They got
did
drones
they do
everywhere.
that on purpose?
They got drones.
That's the question.
The thing is it's what's so ridiculous is that very low tech warfare can affect all these billions of dollars of high tech shit. You could literally do damage with a $79 drone. Doesn't even have to be one that maybe potentially allegedly Iran gave you. It could just be any drone that you just buy down at the store. I mean, you can just buy a drone. Does anybody ever wonder how, when these drones all of a sudden came out, why they didn't just clamp down on that shit immediately? Like, why are they just letting people just flying around with these drones with cameras on them everywhere?
That's what I need up here, Jimmy. Drone defense system.
It's really...
Get them on the road before they get to my house.
What's really funny is they're coming out with a drone, with a drone idea that I literally came up with 10 years ago. Literally. I put a whole system integration thing together for a potential security system, and it involved using fiber optic cables and so on and so forth, and drones. And I was going to use I had this idea to have these pads that the drones would fly up against the building and charge up, and just sit there until they needed them, and then the drone would come off the wall fully charged and could go out to wherever the fiber optic line was disturbed. So, like, for example, if I had a fence around a giant facility, anytime somebody touched that fence, I would get a signal that that fence was touched in that specific GPS location where the disturbance happened. And the disturbance could even be, at that point when I put this together, like I say, over a decade ago, at that point, you could program the fiber optic system that I'm talking about to discern between an animal and a person touching that fence. So you wouldn't get an alarm if an elk bashed up against your fence, but if a guy touched it and put his hands on it, it could tell the difference.
Wild.
Yeah, it is wild.
I want to circle back a little bit to
circle back.
Drone.
So
it wasn't Boeing. It was Lockheed Martin. I just had to go look. My year was right. It was 2011. Mm-hmm. It was an RQ-170 Sentinel drone, which is actually a CIA drone. It's literally a CIA drone, right? And it was actually flying over Afghanistan at the time. So they broke a few rules there by attacking something that wasn't in their airspace, essentially. But we'll never know because we weren't there, right? But I think the idea that this was a poison pill needs to be looked into. Remember how the Chinese were still suffering for it right now when Huawei put all those hardwired in chips on their motherboards and their electronics that could hijack whatever they're in the computers. They could, without a virus, it could do it in hardware, right?
Right.
This is probably exactly what we did there. I have to think this was like the Trojan horse in a literal sense. Without it being a horse, it was a Trojan drone.
Did you ever see that?
I think so.
Did you ever see that?
You really think we're still that smart, Epic?
I like to think so.
Well, I mean, we're gonna talk about a little bit about some of that next hour, because lots of people hear of these ideas about the power getting knocked out, and I mean, it's common knowledge. It's common knowledge, like jungle fauna being found in mammoths' stomachs when they were flash frozen. It's known like that this situation that we have here, ladies and gentlemen, has been going on and on and on. Bruce.
Yeah.
Epic Journeyman. Have you heard about the jungle fauna in the mammoth stomachs?
Oh yeah,
they were
the time I was a little kid. We're talking. I was a really
before the Ice
kid.
Age.
Yeah, well, so it's common knowledge.
It was always a point of contention to me from the time I was like 4 or 5 years old.
It's common knowledge
60s, right?
across the planet that you can just, if you want to take out the great Satan of America, all you got to do is knock out the power, and then the great Satan will fall down, and that will be the end. And we have said in the past that we don't believe that to be so. If it's such common knowledge, do people in America actually think that our military and our government doesn't have a potential side power system that's just ready to go?
Yeah, I'm doubtful. When you take a look at the bridges and the highways, I'm doubtful.
I know. See, that's the thing.
Infrastructure's crumbling, Jimmy. You think they have a backup power system?
Well, our infrastructure is crumbling. Our infrastructure. But the infrastructure that matters is very nice. I mean, go to certain states here in the United States, Bruce. I know, you're up on the mountain there, and you probably haven't ridden through the United States, like driven across it. Maybe you have. But if you go to Colorado, for example, and you go look at that infrastructure, go look at the way the power lines are put up, the steel poles, all this stuff, the roads, all this. Like, where it matters, the infrastructure is perfect. Like, you'll be driving, you go from here to Nevada, through Nevada, around, go to Utah or whatever, through Colorado. You'll all of a sudden be on these shitty roads. It'll be tearing your car to pieces, Bruce. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of nowhere, all of a sudden just gets smooth. And that's when you realize you are somewhere near a military facility that's out there in the desert somewhere. Because they're rolling, there's 18-wheelers down there, and they got to have smooth roads. And that's immediately, when you hit that smooth road, you're somewhere near a facility. And a facility where they, do some of the kind of things we're going to be talking about in the next hour. So
you guys remember, like 10 years back, it was a big part of the alternative media to kind of suggest that there's this space age weaponry 50, 100 years ahead of anything that's visible. And this was a big thing, like around 2012, 2013, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does none of that exist? Like, I mean, are we now, beatable by Iran in a war? No. I mean,
well, in a way, we're not beatable technologically. That's what's kind of going with the Houthis, and talking about how the Hutu and Tutsis not related, right? And Rwanda had their whole thing. That was a modern culture. And then they, people think Rwanda is the same thing, like grass shacks or whatever. It wasn't, right? It was regular suburbia, just like it is here.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that when that happened, it knocked it into that kind of state because they killed all those people, 200,000 people in a single day with machetes and whatever they could find. And so it's a lot more like that movie. It's not that great a movie, so don't get me wrong. I'm going to get my inspiration from this movie. But The Kingsman, where there's this pulse, this kind of thing that goes out and turns everybody into these wild, crazy people that do stupid, incredible things. The thing about the Houthis, it's amazing. They arrived at the same time on the scene as Al-Qaeda. At the
Did I
same
make a
time as Al
mistake
Qaeda.
getting this Starlink epic? Am I going to go
Delivery
crazy
system.
and kill my dogs and my wife any day now?
You might.
I hope not.
You just might.
Elon going to put the frequency in my head?
You know, but I'm gonna elaborate a little bit in a second. I think what it is like. So the Houthis are actually the Shia equivalent of Al Qaeda, right? They came about at the same time. So the plan was always there to have this Islamic jihad against the West from both perspectives, right? From both sides of their political spectrum or religious spectrum. It's not really political with them in that case, you know, with the Shia and the Sunni, right? So the Sunni are Al Qaeda and the Houthis are, and they're both in Yemen. They both started in Yemen, where, right, Osama bin Laden started that whole movement down there, and where the CIA was actively involved. So is it any wonder that a CIA drone just happens to be captured by Iran, right? That ends up down with the same technology sent to the Houthis down in Yemen to be a real problem in the Red Sea right now. The Red Sea's small, man. It's tiny.
Did you ever see? Did you guys?
So
I'll bring up this movie. Have you ever seen a movie called Deterrent?
No,
I think so. Is that the one? With,
I brought it up before. Yeah, go ahead. Who do you think is in it?
I'm trying to think of the name of the actor's name.
Yeah, he's a comedian. Anyways, it doesn't even matter who's in it. Just look it up. Deterrent. It wasn't a big movie. It was like a B movie, or maybe even a C movie. But I ran out of movies to watch, so I ended up watching it. And anyways, the point about it is, it's about a story about a president who's driving back to the airport in Colorado, and there's a snowstorm. And they have to pull over with the limo, and they stop at this bar, and they go in. And the whole movie is about him in that bar. All the people in the bar and the people that work at the bar are there with the president. And all of a sudden, a crisis develops in Iraq. And this whole crisis basically foretold exactly what did happen with the whole sideways drilling and all that kind of shit that went on with Saddam Hussein. And in this case, what happened was they had acquired nuclear capability with a intercontinental ballistic cruise missile. And they said that they were going to launch at the United States if the United States did something. And then this president goes ahead and does it because the way they got the nuclear material was through France, and the whole thing was set up. And they knew that the bomb wasn't going to go off. It was no good. So the nuclear missile they had wasn't really a nuclear missile. And when they launched it, this dude launched all his nukes and nuked the shit and turned it into a parking lot, whatever, glass parking lot.
Yeah.
So that
it's
drone
warfare, right? Yeah.
So that drone that they let out, maybe like Epic saying, yeah, they let them have it, but and when they reverse engineer it, they're going to put the technology in it that Epic is describing. They know they need this chip on the board and this place, this kind of chip, and for whatever reason, that chip is specifically designed for someone else to take control of that. Whatever that is, that board controls. Go ahead, Bruce.
Well, I think when we think about the future and we think about conflict and stability, I think it's interesting to reflect upon the collapse of the Soviet Union, ostensibly our winning of the Cold War when the Berlin Wall came down. So there were a lot of regions that were held together through a kind of consent to force, right? So Tito in Yugoslavia was one example. And then, it was interesting to note that the Soviet Union didn't do anything about that. Like Bill Clinton had to go in there and sort of settle that Yugoslavian dispute. Now, using that as an example, I want you to imagine what's going to happen when the central authority of the American empire and the predominance of NATO collapses. Okay, who's going to be that party that settles disputes that erupt? Because there's a lot of places that are held together by consent to force, meaning that a strong man is in there or a strong system is in there. So let's go to Israel. Okay, Israel exists at the liberty of the United States. Now, your hardcore anti-Semite will tell you that Israel has alliances with and controls China. Horseshit. Absolute horseshit. It's Israel and the United States. What happens to that? So when Israel goes, I think in the Middle East, you could be looking at a situation that the dominoes go all the way back to even before Lawrence of Arabia, and they literally retribalize. Okay? And I think this is a metaphor or an analogy for what's going to happen everywhere. I don't think the big thing is nation-to-nation war. I think we're going to go through a period of multiple civil and regional wars that are more run by guerrillas, like the North and the South in the United States, Shia and the Sunni in the Middle East, and all of this sort of stuff.
Listen, man, I'm telling you right now.
There's no Neanderthals.
If there was a
Epic comes out with a money shot every once in a while, man.
He does. Hey, listen, but the thing is there's quite a few Muslims in the world, and if every single Muslim all of a sudden decided to just seek out a Christian and give him one chance to convert or die, there'd be a lot of people dying, man. Because there's, I mean, just like a mob.
I don't see it though, Jimmy.
The thing is like, look, listen to me. If you're just one guy, you're a badass, Bruce, right? I know you're a killer. You've been punched in the face. I know that you know what shit is, and you're a badass. But it doesn't matter how badass you are. There's like 30 or 40 people. Eventually, somebody's going to drag you to the ground, and once you go down, there's 30 or 40 people who are going to stomp you to death. And that's the thing, is that there's way more... there's way more people that could easily...
Okay, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Let me stop you right there, okay? What you're talking about takes incentive and organization. There has to be a central authority mind controlling and manipulating people. So let's go back to Rwanda, the example that Epic brought up, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That was actually 3 or 4 generations of mental manipulation by the Dutch, the Belgians, who were over there. There was no problem between the Tutsis and the Hutsis before the Europeans got there. They deliberately created that, okay?
They did.
And when you look at violence, you're most likely to be killed by somebody who's 1 or 2 degrees different than you, like Irish Catholic, Irish Protestant.
I just want to point out South Africa. Okay? I want to point that out. And I want to say, they're into and of itself is the microcosm of what's going on. That's why people better wake up. You know, it's not what's going on, and what you're saying is these tribal breakups and all this. That's exactly what's going on. And American people are being marketed too. And it's all of a sudden, like I said, all of a sudden it's become okay to demonize whitey or whatever. You know, to beat whitey for no reason and, you know, just walk away. No charges.
Yeah, Jimmy, but that's just the black troglodytes, intelligent black people, and there's more intelligent black people than there is black trash.
Well,
black people are like white people now. There's white trash and there's white people, okay? There's black trash and there's black people, and they're not buying into it. You listen to any intelligent black voice out there, like Thomas Sowell, Louis Farrakhan, they're not buying into it, man.
Are they?
And yes, I just called Louis Farrakhan an intelligent black voice.
He is, and so the thing is the question is then where is anybody? No one is putting the brakes on any of this stuff, man. No one's putting the brakes on it. So the people that are being whoever you are and whatever section of the population you're in and however you're being mistreated, nobody's got you. Whatever your color is, it doesn't matter. If you're white, you're black, it doesn't matter. However you're being treated, there's nobody cares but you. And that's the thing. We're all in this shit together, and no one's saying anything about it. No one, hey, go to war. Okay, yeah, no. Nobody's saying anything about it. No one's saying, hey, don't do that. You know, hey, what about peace? How about that? No, that's not really on the table today, Bruce. You know, we're just going to go ahead and go to
the mountains.
You know, I don't know. I mean, it's the thing is
that's what the Bible says.
What we were talking about.
Yeah, that's the Bible. Go to the mountains.
Hold on. What we were talking about was the marketing, and what I was talking about was marketing. What I'm saying is you said there was, and I'm glad you brought it up because you said there's specific marketing going on, and there's also in America specific marketing going on right now. And It's aimed, the machine now is aimed at specifically demonizing white Christian gun owner conservatives. Okay.
I'm not going to deny the campaign's out there, but I don't think it's working.
Well, I mean,
of course, you're gonna incentivize disenfranchised teenage mutant ninja Negroes in L.A. Of course, okay. But look, everybody knows. Every black dude who went to university, who's married with 2 kids, who drives a Volvo, is as scared of those black people as white people. Okay, and you'd be amazed how many people are catching on, and they don't want the system to fall through, and they recognize that the white middle class has bent over backwards since the baby boomers to be an inclusive society.
I know, because for the last 10 years, it seems like everything's gone backwards because it doesn't. But the thing is this shit makes it out there specifically to drive a certain no matter how you look at this propaganda. Okay, when you see a video of a bunch of people beating up a person, okay, whether you're the same color as the people beating up the person or you're the same color as the person getting beaten up, both of those people have different ideas about what they're seeing. Okay, but we're both being marketed to, which goes back to what we said originally about Trump being the guy here to be the one to lead the civil war in America. Because if he gets taken off the ballot, or you can't vote for the person you want to vote for in America, then what country are we living in?
So you're saying Trump is being set up to be another George Washington, except the English are the establishment in Washington. I don't think you're that far off, actually. And another irony that comes to mind as the America fails, and why it's failing, because it went out and tried to tell people what to do. America and Canada are made up of people who got on wooden boats, came across the Atlantic Ocean, where one out of every 3 people on those boats would die in the journey. We took that risk. We put our families on those boats, and we came here or there to North America because Europe was run by people who meddled in your life, put you down, told you what to do, and lied to you to maintain their own entitlement. And in 250 years, America becomes the worst example of what it left. That's the irony here, Jimmy. It's like they say in the bat, you live long enough, if the hero lives long enough, he'll become the villain. It's like a vicious cycle.
I want to say, that's what was the theme I was going with the Hutus and Tutsis, was that I think it was the Hutus were actually the majority, right? But they were the less educated. The Tutsis were the ones with all the privileges and got all the education, very similar to how the Sunnis were in Iraq, where they got all the education and all the opportunity, and the Shia were relegated to a form of slavery in a sense because they were limited by their educational opportunities as well as what the jobs that were offered by society there, right, when Saddam was in power. So it's similar. I think it's more similar to Jefferson Davis, actually. We're talking about Trump in the sense that, it's the uneducated, and it is. I mean, it's the uneducated who are generally the Trump supporters. It's the people from the Deep South. It's the people from the red states are less. And it's because of exactly the same thing, where the educational opportunities, job opportunities aren't the same necessarily as they are for people on the coast states. It's not necessarily a race thing. That's what's I'm finding surprising. The theme seems to be not race related, even though I made the nod to the extinction of the Neanderthals earlier. That's part of it, but I think it's more about this class warfare. And it's not class warfare as much as it is one group seizing power, right, over the other through their education, because their education enables them to use deeper thoughts to plot their stay in power, right? And we eliminate the ability to object to it through normal legal means because the courts are changed in such a way that it favors them, then you can never win, right? So that and it leads to this kind of violence. And you look at all over the world throughout history, and it always seems to be that way. I mean, sometimes it's as overt as just a race of people. Originally, that's all there was because it was just one culture against another culture. Now these so-called culture wars are related not to the color of the person's skin, although sometimes it ends up that way. It's more related to this warfare of ideas, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a war.
It's something else, man. It's imminent. It's
an information war, and there's two sides to the coin. Okay, there's everything that happened with Floyd, Black Lives Matter, that whole situation that went on and on and on and on. Okay, now the opposite group that didn't agree with what was going on with that, they and those other folks that do agree with the BLM thing, those two people are being set up to go against each other. Bruce, go ahead.
Did you? So going back to the news, you asked me what happened this week. Another thing that caught my eye was the little tiff between Vivek Ramaswamy. Is that his name? I'm not sure if I got the last name right. The Vivek, the Indian American.
Ramaswamy, I think is how he says
Ramaswamy.
It.
His verbal dust up with Van
break
Jones.
time.
We'll
break.
After the break, we'll come back to that.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Hey everyone, it's Barbara Jean Lindsay, the Cosmic Oracle. If you have questions about your past lives or future plans, need answers from the cosmos about your love life or career, or just want to keep your finger on the pulse of the planet, check out my show, The Cosmic Oracle, here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
The Secret Kindergarten is here for the young children of the world. The best program on the radio for kids. Dealing with the most important topics in the whole universe. Fairy tales, music and movement, numbers, plants, animals, fun, colors, insects. Take care and cast your ears out to catch a story from the world of other young things. Reach out, up, under, and over. Sing a song. Talk about feelings. Just remember the magic word. The magic word is no. Step on into the Secret Kindergarten. Saturdays, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Right here on Revolution Radio.
Check in every Thursday night for the Crit Rick and Jonathan Show. Studio A, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right here at the #1 listener-supported radio station, Revolution Radio.
Join me at Revolution Radio, Studio B, at 11 a.m. on Saturday for Free Association, when we take a look at philosophy, spirituality, psychology, social issues, and geopolitics. It's every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Studio B at freedomslips.com.
I want to thank everybody for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the one place where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio.
All right, let's show them what we got now.
All right, thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
Vivek. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Vivek
Ramaswamy, I believe it is, yeah.
Let me say this. The guy's very, very sharp. A very sharp guy.
Yeah.
Now, what's the Epic Journeyman? Are there criticisms of this Vivek? What are people saying about him? Why are people saying not to like him? People for some reason don't want you to like him. They want you to like Trump instead. So why are we not supposed to like this Vivek guy? Any reasons? Epic Journeyman, are you there?
Oh, sorry, I had to pull my mic muted by having it flipped up. I have one of those telemarketer mics. So basically, the thing is,
why are we not
he mimics Trump so much, right? Like basically, the deal is, like, if you watch his hand symbols and everything, he does the OK sign all the time. He does the accordion hands all the time. He delivers his things the same way. So, that's what I think the problem is.
You see, there's some mannerisms and some similarities, but he's
not just some. It's deliberate. It's very deliberate, and it's phony, right? And I think that's what people don't like.
All right, so it's phony. Okay, go ahead, Bruce. Is he phony? Do you think he's phony?
Well, I don't think it's possible to run for the leadership of the Republican Party without being a phony. Well, if you can get that high up the system, you're a phony. It's plain and simple.
Let me ask y'all a question. Did you know he was on Alex Jones today?
I did not, no.
Yeah, he was on there for an interview with Alex Jones, and Alex Jones and him were on there, and they were like, Alex was he felt so happy that he was there to have that discussion. Let me just say, I only listened to it for about 15 minutes while I was on my break, eating my sausage sandwich and drinking my Coke. What I heard there in that 15 minutes was that Vivek guy turned the whole thing around on Alex Jones and start asking Alex Jones questions. And one of the things was funny was I thought it was kind of cool was there, at one point Alex was trying to signal that he was not just some guy. He was somebody who's in. He said, "Well, my whole family, were in intelligence."
Yeah.
And I go, what? He said, my whole family was in intelligence. And Vivek's going, oh, really, Alex? And he turned it around on him, dude. And he was sitting there. You have to go listen to it. Tomorrow night, when we do the show tomorrow night, Rio will be here. Hopefully, we're going to get that video, that tape, and we're gonna listen to that tape tomorrow night, and we're going to listen to it in reverse. Because I'm going to tell you right now, it's an interesting 15 minutes. Go ahead, Bruce.
So in a public address that was recorded to a group of people, like a convention hall or something, Vivek endorsed the idea of the white replacement theory and validated it. Van Jones picked up on this on CNN and chastised him for it. And Vivek responded the next day at another convention, and on the stage, he went, have you seen this thing that Van Jones is saying? He says we're crazy. And now, it's funny because Vivek isn't even white, and it's the white replacement theory. But he said, and I quote, "Shut the fuck up, Van Jones," quote unquote. Okay, and then he found a clip of Van Jones from like 2020 or 2019, where he's actually referencing reduced influence of white people in America. We need them to become a minority. We need them to become a minority. So my point in bringing this up, Jimmy, is the whole thing is run by a few idiots. That's it. It's not really getting any traction with the people. Nobody cares about ideology or hating their neighbor when they have more pressing worries, right? They just don't.
That's what I mean. It's not, in the world, in everyday life, people aren't sitting there wondering or thinking about what the white man is doing or what Whitey's doing. People are just living their lives. It's not an issue until somebody makes it an issue. Now all of a sudden it's an issue when it wasn't an issue. Well, first it was an issue, then it wasn't an issue. Now it's an issue again. Only now it's in reverse. I mean, have you ever seen that movie with John Travolta called White Man's Burden?
White Man's Burden.
Yeah, White Man's Burden. Yeah, you ever seen that? It's kind of like
on your recommendation.
It's kind of like a movie, like the movie where what if Germany won the war? You ever see that one?
Yeah.
Iron Sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that. I mean, we're in a topsy-turvy world, man. The thing is, it wasn't cool when it was the other way, and it's not good now when it's this way. You know what I mean? At some point, on some level, don't we all just gotta? I mean, I hate to say it, but don't we all just gotta get along at some point? I mean, how in the world is America ever gonna get itself out of the situation it's in when you can't even...
By electing somebody who wants to do it.
By electing?
You see, the problems themselves are childishly easy to solve.
The thing
All you do is you go to a commodified currency. It has to be indexed to the productivity, the commodities, and the resources of the nation.
But you're
you say, this is how we're
on
doing it. We're not going to trade with anyone who doesn't do this. Nobody can trade with you right away.
But
you build up your manufacturing base. You get energy going again. Because you guys have more energy, more oil and gas in the United States than Saudi Arabia. Why are you worried about OPEC, man?
Well, because what we do,
right now.
Yeah, what we do is we buy up other people's oil while we use our Federal Reserve notes that aren't worth shit to buy up oil, and we're sucking up all the oil, all of the resources from around the world. So the day that we don't have to use your resources anymore, we can sit here all by ourselves. That's what I think. It's like. I mean, I can understand the hatred for the government, and I can understand everyone thinks they're stupid, but believe me, the government is far from stupid. And just like Jordan Maxwell used to say, if something happens, it's not by accident. None of the shit is by accident. And your idea of where we are from a technological standpoint is so far under what we really have that it's not even funny. I mean, just the other day, Epic Journeyman, let me ask you a question.
Example.
Well,
I'll give you an example.
Epic Journeyman. So the other day, did Space Command not say that they were online? They just last week, the United States Space Command said they went online. Just the other day, China launched a rocket that propelled some object into space, Bruce. So kinetic weapons from space is an example. Remember that big explosion in China on their biggest supercomputer complex?
I do remember that, yeah.
It was rods from God, man. Boom! All of a sudden, it just comes out of the sky. It's like
the rods from God I do know about. Yeah, that's not a myth. That was explained to me by James McCanney. I think they used them in like Colombia, or there was an earthquake in like South America, and it was rods from God.
There were people that were saying that Tongan volcanic eruption was caused by one of these kinetic weapons, and there was video of a weird anomaly right before the vibratory strike where everything went like this, and there was a weird, you could see something coming down out of the clouds. Did you see that?
You get the seismic. There's seismic sensors all over the world, right? So you'll get that interval between time it came through and time it hit sonic boom, because it's going faster than the speed of sound. So when it comes through the atmosphere, it's a sonic boom. You can't hide that, right?
Epic Journeyman.
So basically, Jimmy, what you're telling me then is that militarily, the United States right now is like Jackie Gleason in The Hustler with Paul Newman.
Yeah, they just go in and wash their face.
It's just a hustle. They want to, so they want to drag people into conflict and be provoked and say, okay, we had no choice, and then boom, just destroy them. I don't know.
Here, Bruce, I'll give you another example.
If that's true,
I'll give you another example.
Why would China even spend so much money on military equipment? You know, wouldn't their intelligence tell them, because they've got the psychic spies and everything else in China, wouldn't they say, look, it's no point in building all these, putting hundreds of billions of dollars into these aircraft carriers, because the United States can just destroy them with these weapons.
Well, here's the
right?
thing. Here's the thing, Bruce. I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm not revealing anything that's secret. This is public information, so, of this technology. Epic Journeyman can back me up on this. Based on your GPS location, a technician could zap you out right now from a satellite. Knock you out.
Not even a satellite. Yeah, not even a satellite.
Well, you could do it with a drone too, but I'm just saying, satellite technology
What do you mean?
Means that I could send a beam down to you, make you have a heart attack right now.
Yeah, you can. A long time we've been able to do that.
I know.
Now you can actually fire a laser. I mean, a literal laser, in such a way that it's not going to be detectable. There's no debris. So you're driving let's imagine that we know Patton was assassinated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, nowadays, your version of Patton right now could be driving on his road, and instead of it being a missile or something you can detect debris from, you just fire this weapon, right? It's a laser weapon. And all it does is, next thing you know, the guy is being burned. He turns off the road, car loses control, spins off into tunes the driving cat kind of thing from Saturday Night Live over the cliff, and that's it. He's dead.
Flight 370.
That's the kind of thing you can do.
Flight 370.
There's right. There's a lot of things about that.
What about that?
We were talking earlier about the
Why'd
analogy.
they take out Patton? I'm just curious.
I've always wondered about that, actually. And
what threat did he represent?
Well, I think he represented a bigger threat than we know. I think that they portrayed that in the movie, actually. I think that he was in tune with his reincarnated self, and that he had a spiritual remote viewing capability that was bar none better than anybody else's, and they didn't want that person walking around on the planet. I mean, that's wild and out there, but I think that's what it is. I think that he was that much of an anomaly, right? Like Nikola Tesla, in the sense that as far as military prowess goes, they couldn't have that person walking around.
Wow, because
it's too much of a threat. But talking earlier about how these systems happen, where what it's like, and I figured out what it is. I had to go visit my uncle and fix my house and all that stuff. Not that it's a bad thing, but I had to go do that, and I spent 9 days there on vacation just fixing my house, right? And during that time, I found he'd been recording Survivor, and I haven't seen Survivor since the second season. I don't watch TV in general, but I just think it's so fake, it's so phony, right? Like the whole thing's terrible. But I watched it last two episodes or whatever from this last season, because he had it recorded because he was watching it himself. We're watching TV that night, and it occurred to me that, you know what, that is exactly how humanity is that there's the real world, like you and I, Bruce and Jimmy, we all could survive on an island. We're castaways. We would truly survive. We know how to do it, right? But these people don't have any idea how to survive. What they do is they make these subtle alliances under the table with each other, and they plan and they plot to eliminate the people who are a threat to them, just like Mao did, just like Stalin did when he eliminated the brain trust of Russia at the time. All these people are a threat to their power, right? They take out because they're a threat to them overall, achieving their main goal. And so that is a metaphor for society today. So really, when you talk about the elites, what you're really talking about is the subterfuge of all these people plotting against the people who are more talented, skilled, and able to perpetuate their survival than they are.
So remember what I said earlier, Jimmy, that the greatest danger is the people most like you and closest to you. That's universal. When you go way back in the day on Rev Radio, when I did that book on Satanism and Communism by the Romanian pastor, the 24 people who were like the core founders of Russian communism, they all got done in by each other. I think the last two standing were Lenin and Stalin. And I mean, it's unbelievable. Like once you open up that killing door, it just doesn't stop, right? It's like a pit bull. You get a taste of it, and you just don't want to stop. So I don't worry about the people who don't know me or understand me, like other communities or other ethnicities. The real people to worry about are the people who haven't planned from what's coming, or as Anton Chigurh says in No Country for Old Men, who've been putting it up their whole life and have no substance inside them, but they're externally, they're just like you. They're the ones that are going to attack you when things get rough. Yeah.
Bruce McDonald, 7 a.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday, Independent Broadcast Network. It's freeworld.fm. Mine's Jimmy. It's into the microcosm. So it's, you know, we started talking about these this technology, Epic Journeyman, and like you were saying, I mean, this these satellites and this technology has been around for a while, and some of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight, I think, you know, Tesla was the man originally who had put together a tower in Colorado and was suggesting that he could just beam energy anywhere he wanted to around the world. And for some reason, the idea just didn't catch on. For some reason, Epic Journeyman.
Well, his sponsor, J.P. Morgan, I believe it was, right? Pulled the plug on his efforts because he was an oil man. He didn't want that to... He recognized how his bread was buttered, so to speak.
I think
and they all do. Right? That's the whole thing. They all do. They realize it. It's like the fire. Primitive man had the fire, and people flock to the fire. So whoever has the fire is the most popular person in town, in the village, or wherever, right? And so by keeping the monopoly on that light, that power, the ability to generate that light, that's how energy, fossil fuels, whatever you want to call it, and the people who control it are able to still use it to this day, right? By denying it from everyone else. And Tesla was about to undo that. Tesla was going to make that free to everyone.
The comment from the documentary is, "God damn it, I can't put a meter on it."
That wasn't
Imagine a world where energy flows effortlessly through the air, unencumbered by cables and infrastructure. In response to the critical need for uninterrupted power supply at distant operating bases during the military campaigns initiated following the September 11 attacks, the Pentagon has now embarked on an extraordinary journey towards achieving this very vision. By harnessing the power of laser technology, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, the research and development arm of the U.S. Department of Defense, plans to revolutionize energy transmission, ushering in an era where electricity can be beamed across vast distances. Aptly named the P.O.W.E.R program, this initiative holds the potential to transcend the limitations of traditional power supply methods, offering a constant and reliable energy source to power military operations, even in the most remote and challenging environments worldwide. So, in this video, let's take a closer look at DARPA's P.O.W.E.R program. The concept of wireless energy transfer was first proposed in the 1890s, with the vision of making it a common way to transmit energy from one place to another. However, even after more than a century, practical wireless energy transfer remains a challenge for humanity. Currently, we rely on wires or fuel to electricity conversion to transmit energy. But in military operations, things can get tricky. Enemies strategically target wires or disrupt fuel supply lines, making it difficult to ensure a reliable power source. Soldiers often have to resort to unconventional methods like airdropping fuel or navigating dangerous roads to keep their equipment running.
All right, so let me stop it there. Epic Journeyman, Bruce McDonald. So there was a contract awarded, and so basically the contract, Epic Journeyman, I sent you the article. I'll send it to you also, Bruce. Did you guys take a look at that? So,
yeah.
So now, are we to imagine that this now is, at this point, Epic Journeyman, this is going on already, right? I mean, this is not something.
Yeah. Yes. Anything DARPA puts out there on their website has already happened. It's not conceptual. So basically, what becomes public knowledge is when the contract is awarded, right? So they put out this proposal, DARPA does, and people respond to it. in the case of DARPA, in this case, it's called P.O.W.E.R. It's an acronym. I forget what it stands for, but all capitals, right? P.O.W.E.R. And Raytheon got awarded the contract. It's only $10 million. But whenever DARPA does that, that means it's way past, the theoretical phase. It's already, being implemented, and that $10 million is just to, clear the books a little bit of other money they spent. So, it's out there. And it has been for a long time. I mean, that's what blows me away about this. This is something that Tesla talked about a long time ago, and it may predate him by, perhaps millennia even. We don't know. We don't know past history, but I would say just in our known history, it started with him, and it got shut down.
Do you think Tesla was a Venetian? Because
from the planet Venus,
there's people that say, he.
No.
There's people that say he was from Venus.
He might have been, yeah. I know where you're going with this, Jimmy.
What's that guy's name? Wrote that book?
Men
are 50s, right?
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Oh no! I thought you were talking about the alien guy. It believed that there's getting visitations from Venus.
Bruce, you think he was a Venusian? Because he was,
there have been a number of instances of people with extraordinary abilities just declaring themselves as Venusians. They're usually clairvoyant abilities. They're not necessarily scientific like Tesla had. But yeah, the Venusians have been coming here for a while. Yeah, Casey type stuff and different kind of consciousness ability.
Was Casey a Venusian? Casey was also maybe considered to be a Venusian?
Well, I don't know, because I think that he definitely was accessing the human Akashic, his ability to give those readings on what happened in Atlantis and everything. So I think he may have been just like an earthbound soul, a soul that's done most of its evolution on this planet. There's a lot of visitors here now, man. It went through the roof around 100 years ago. I don't know why.
Epic Journeyman.
I don't.
Did Tesla have an elongated skull?
I don't think so. Not to the extent of some others we've dealt with on the show, like Admiral Byrd. And stuff. But the thing is, when we talk about it's Adamski. I don't have a reference in front of me, but I remember his name was Adamski, who proposed this whole thing when the flying saucer phenomena first started, coming to light in the late 40s, early 50s. And he wrote a book, and I forget the name of the book right now. Some of our listeners will be able to chime in. But
why then?
Why
then,
Epic? L. Ron Hubbard embraced that too, because his whole thing about the soul catchers, they catch the departing souls from the planet, then they send them off to the Venus, right, to be reprogrammed, and the moon, and it's insane stuff actually. But unless you happen to believe that stuff, but it's funny that the Venus keeps coming up that way, right?
I saw an interesting. I'll bring it to the table just because it was so interesting. It ties into what you just said. I saw a thread earlier today where someone put forward the idea that there was a young hacker who hacked some games, Grand Theft Auto, and he stole some scenes from Grand Theft Auto, and he got life in prison for this hacker.
That's a bit severe.
But what they were saying was that he discovered that souls were being sucked out of people through this game, and they were being trapped inside the internet.
Come on now, Jimmy.
I'm telling you.
I'll
what
look
do you mean
it
he
up.
discovered? What do you mean he discovered? How did he discover that?
He discovered it. I don't know how he discovered it. I'm just telling you what it said. I'm not saying, I ain't saying this. I'm just saying the idea was...
I'll just mention, it's an article, right?
I'm just saying the idea was put forward, is what I'm saying. And so the soul-sucking aspect, the metaphor of it, the soul-sucking aspect of what goes on the internet electronically and with these games, that you literally just... saying that your soul could be sucked out, while you're hypnotized and mesmerized in these games.
Harnessed, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I believe it.
So, but we put forward that originally with the Michael Aquino. We can only say his name. Don't say it 3 times, so you can only say it once more.
Still don't want to say it. Nope.
All right, so don't say it. He who will not be mentioned in the info war, and the when they put forward they released the demon on the original the 56K modem internet. When everybody had those 56Ks, that's when they released it, right, Epic Journeyman? And ever since then, we cannot find the name of it. There was a whole name for this demon that was released.
It's way bigger than that, Jimmy.
It was from the Temple of Set, yeah, and it was on the internet freely available until we talked about it, basically. I mean, I understand it was because of us, but it's weird.
Go ahead, Bruce McDonald. It's bigger than that.
Electricity has, let's call it a yin and a yang. Electricity is a major component, and the digital channels of travel or transport of electricity now is a major component of alien intelligence operating on this planet. And that alien intelligence, you could throw demonic into that. Okay.
Have you ever seen a movie called Upload?
No.
What about you, Epic Journeyman? Upload. Have you seen it?
Nope.
Okay, this is a concept. All right, let me. You know what? I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to play this trailer, but I don't know if it'll be informational enough for you to get it. But let's see if there's enough here. Anyways, I'll set it up. So the thing is this: there's a guy. He's being wheeled into the hospital. It's an emergency, and he gets to the end of the hall, and he can either go into the operation, or he can upload himself into the ether space. The reason I'm bringing it to the table was because the concept of the uploading through magnetic resonance, Epic Journeyman, we've talked about this before with the organic robotoids, and that's how he said that they sucked your brain out to put it in another organic robotoid. They made a copy of your brain using magnetic resonance. So now, here we have this idea of being able to suck your memories out of your skull, Bruce, to vacuum your skull right out.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if this trailer, and check it out. Here comes the trailer for Upload. See if there's anything here.
His vitals are dropping. We're losing him. Do we really want to upload? We could be together forever.
You're so amazing. But forever is just like so long.
Upload's that way, OR's the other way. What do you want to do?
3, 2, 1. Upload. Hello, Nathan. 10 fingers and toes?
Pretty seamless.
This is the first day of the rest of your afterlife.
You may find yourself living in a beautiful house.
Cool.
Welcome to Lakeview. Uplifting view.
All right, you really got it. I mean, when we come up on the break, go take a look at that trailer for yourself, and just imagine the concept of it, because now he's been uploaded into this completely digital world that changes for him however he decides it to be for himself right in that moment. He can click through what kind of weather it is outside on the windows. Epic Journeyman. Because he's now become ones and zeros. He's been sucked.
Go
ahead.
Bruce posed the idea, if they're 100 years ahead of us, how come we don't know about it? And I brought up that Gulf of Aden anomaly, right? And that's from 2012, but it had been written about in 1981. It had been going on for a while. What if the idea of what a future warfare looks like, and what a high technology really works around, is the idea of mapping your brain, mapping your thoughts, sucking it all in, like you said. And that resonance that we saw in the Gulf of Aden in 2012 was actually like a giant MRI that scanned the brains of all those people. And ever since, all those people have been inhabited by this, like the movie The Hidden, this other entity that's taken them over. Right? Because
Jimmy, are we taking calls?
So
we can take calls, but not just yet. Just stand by for a minute now.
Well, somebody called. I brought them in. I think it's our buddy there, the reincarnation of Edward D.
All right, well, just stand by there, buddy. Put yourself on mute.
Stand by for a second.
Put himself on mute.
Incredibly wild
put him on
here.
mute.
But the idea would be, to follow up on the idea here, would be that think about when these anomalies have happened in the past. The Gulf of Aden is one where we saw it's clearly on satellite pictures. You can see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all those warships just flocked to the area to go check it out. I mean, it's just like they went to Antarctica in 2016. I mean, what? Not the warships, but people. What is it about these things when these happen?
It's the mapping. What if there's warfare like you said, mapping the brain? Man. Listen to me.
The Norway Spiral, man. And then they had that shooter killed 131 people or whatever right after. I mean, come on, man. Maybe there is something to this. Maybe that is how high technology that we can't understand or comprehend yet works. And that's why we don't see it, is because it's so high above us, we can't understand how it works. Just like the touch screen of a phone would be today, or back in, would be in the 1940s.
Okay, listen to this.
Interface. The team was led by Jacob Robinson from Rice University.
We've been able to manipulate viruses so that they can introduce new genes that give cells the ability to do things they don't normally do.
The idea encompasses instantly reading soldiers' minds using tools such as genetic engineering of the human brain, nanotechnology, and infrared beams. The ultimate ambition, you might ask? Weapons controlled purely by thought. This is how it works. Robinson and team use special viruses to carry DNA into certain brain cells. This DNA then prompts these brain cells to produce two types of proteins. These modified viruses, along with tiny magnets, are then injected into the bloodstream. Just imagine a unique protein that acts like a light-absorbing sponge. This protein is making brain cells react to magnetic fields and light. Then, a special headset equipped with lasers, light sensors, and electromagnets is used to detect and stimulate brain activity. The helmet also has detectors that can pick up the signals coming back from your brain. This is how you can communicate with a machine without needing any brain surgery. We can see what parts of the brain are active when you're seeing, hearing, or even thinking about something. It's like a cool movie of your brain in action.
Hold on there, buddy. Hold on there, buckaroo.
And electromagnets is used to detect and stimulate brain activity. The helmet also has detectors that can pick up the signals coming back from your brain. This is how you can communicate with a machine without needing any brain surgery. We can see what parts of the brain are active when you're seeing, hearing, or even thinking about something. Active when you're seeing, hearing, or even thinking about something. With a machine without needing any brain surgery. We can see what parts of the brain are active when you're seeing, hearing, or even thinking about something. It's like a cool movie of your brain in action.
And you wear the hat, you sit in your chair, and you control your UAV.
James Fallon, a neuroscientist from UC Irvine, confirmed that this type of gene editing technology is definitely a foundation for the future of mind control.
You put that together with an enzyme called Cas. And so you take the CRISPR that you want to use, and you put these pieces together that can be injected and insert this DNA to certain areas of the brain so that we can change brain cells.
If you're interested in discovering the mysteries behind artificial intelligence and neural networks, I highly recommend checking.
Highly recommend you listen to this show. It's into the microcosm. So there we go. There they go. DARPA with their mind control technology. Epic Journeyman. There we are now. You just brought up the mapping of the brain, and you didn't even know that I had that whole clip lurking.
No, I didn't. Not at all.
You did not know it was lurking there, but there it is for everybody to hear. And so there you go, Epic Journeyman. So now what? We've mapped the brain. Are we that much further from being able to upload that brain? Like when all these horrible ragdoll characters die off and they're decrepit, old, beat up, 100-year-old bodies. They've been ruling over lording over us, and now they died. Are they just uploading themselves into the virtual world? Why even build anything when you can just build it instantaneously in this world, eh? Epic Journeyman, the virtual reality?
That's the argument of simulation theory, right? That's the argument that's already happened, and we're in a simulation. Like, the reason that we don't have all the answers is because we're the simulation that our overlords essentially are running perpetually, trying to figure out other ways out of the predicament they got themselves into. And I'm going to elaborate on what Nick Bostrom said in the sense that this is not what Nick Bostrom was implying, but you can read it in there, is that the people who are in a simulation because they went into to gain eternal life, the simulation, right? They created their own world, go in the simulation, are boxed in, and they can't break out of it. The only way to break out of it is to run the simulation using us, right? Essentially, people in the simulation to find out where they went wrong. What loophole is there to get them out? Because it's like a perpetual trap.
All right. Well, listen.
So
we got an early caller. Bruce McDonald, you want to bring our caller in? Is this the
604? Who are you? Where are you? I think that's British Columbia. And what do you got for us?
Is this the
this is Randy. John D. rears his ugly head again.
All right, man. I'm glad you called in. It's the amazing Randy, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Randy, what did we say that inspired you to call in tonight now? Because I'm sure John D. had something to do with some of this technology that we're talking about. And maybe, you know what? I have a feeling the reason you called in is because I mentioned a particular demon that was released onto the internet, and you know something about it, don't you? Is that why you called in?
Yeah, it's related. What struck me to call was when you're talking about what's called soul capture. Okay, I won't go into. I don't want to take up too much time and go into details about how I got this information, but there is, according to some, a device inside the moon called a soul capture device. Okay, now I have heard that how am I going to put this? All right, you guys that have heard Art Bell back in the day, okay, there was a Luciferian that came on to Art Bell's show.
What was his? Do you remember? What was his name? Do you remember?
Gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue.
All right, well, it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. And he said it was an interesting show because he gave a lot of information about Luciferianism and
let's make this
how they operate.
Why don't you internalize it and then make this an interesting show and just let us have it? What is it exactly? What did the Luciferian have to say?
Yeah, he said that that when you die, it's commonly known that a lot of people see a light when they die, or like a tunnel and a light. And he said, when you die, if you see a tunnel and you go to the light, don't go to the light. That's the wrong way. Go to the dark side. But let's face it, he was a Luciferian. And Art Bell, he told Art Bell that you'd be going to basically like hell or whatever. Actually, it's a soul capture device that was actually implanted in the moon, and I've heard this from other sources that what you do is don't go to the moon. If you go to the moon when you die, this light, don't go to the moon, go to the sun, because that will lead you to the soul capture device. Now, I took that with a grain of salt for many years, like a lot of people may have, but I got some information from what
well, let me ask you this: why do all these people want souls? What's the big deal about a soul? Why do you want my soul?
Energy.
It's control, energy. Yeah.
I know.
It's a soul energy that is running this whole reality, Jimmy. It's basically a hologram, and the whole thing is a hologram. Now that doesn't mean that it's a nefarious hologram. Okay, so the hologram technology is basically from God. God constructs with sound and light, okay? And it comes all the way down here and becomes matter. And there's hacks, okay? So just like you can hack anything, man. Boy, I tell you, I wish I could hack this 2019 MacBook Pro and get around the activation bypass. But you can hack anything. And so... But when you're in this reality, the culture and conditioning is so strong now that they set up a mind frequency in everybody that helps sustain the reality, the order, not the trees and the water, but the social order and the belief system is basically it. But it's the souls that get everything done down here.
So let me ask you a question now. Now, I mean, I'm not really asking the question. I may be being facetious when I ask these questions, Bruce. Okay, but the thing is, let me ask you this. So now, if a soul, like say there's a person, and that person has a soul. When the soul leaves the person, it's not the person anymore. It doesn't look like the person. It's not the person. It's not the personality anymore. It has nothing to do with who you are at this moment. All it has to do with is this energetic blob that pops out of you when you die. And so what you guys are trying to tell me is that everybody, what these people are looking for, and when I say these people, they're not people, obviously, but what these entities are looking for, Epic Journeyman, is they want to, get that blob and stuff it into a bottle over here somewhere and keep it and use it.
Sorry.
I'm just saying, and keep it and use it while they're in human form, right? Is that really it? What is the object of gathering?
I don't think it is. Now this is my interpretation from years and years of just thinking about it, and I may be completely wrong. But what I think is going on is, and I don't want to give the whole game away because people have to find out for themselves. But the carbon atom is six neutrons, six protons, 6 electrons, 666.
Right.
And a diamond is a carbon, it's carbon pressed with extreme pressure, right, to create a diamond. And then the diamond is cut to make it glimmer. Or if you think of a radio, crystals are made to resonate at a frequency, to be on that frequency, so people can communicate on that frequency. So carbon-based life forms in our realm of existence, essentially, that soul catcher we're talking about is actually taking our pressure under our life and cutting one facet of that diamond. In other words, our lives, as we do it, as we rotate through and we do reincarnate, are essentially making the facet of a diamond that's used in a device like you're describing, in the sense that it becomes this resonating thing.
Fascinating, Epic Journeyman. Boy, you constantly impress me with your knowledge.
Well,
seriously.
He is one BMF, as they say.
Yeah.
Listen.
I could just be crazy. You
He
never
could
know.
be.
But
You never know.
Come
He
on.
could just be in a group of crazy people, and then we'd all think he's not crazy. But who knows? If we're all crazy, here we are. It's Into the Microcosm. It's freeworld.fm. It's revolution.radio. It's the Independent Broadcasting Network. We're here every Friday night, 9 o'clock Pacific. The amazing Randy is here. Now, Randy, are you piping up with some John Lear ideas?
Well, actually, John Lear has related some information to this that kind of jives with it.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like, someone in the chat was mentioning the John Lear idea. And so I just wanted to check in with you and see if that was when maybe we were pulling some of your information. See, it's hard for me to know if you saw a video on YouTube or if you're actually relaying John Dee reincarnated secret information. So now that I know so from John Lear and a John Dee is very close. There's two Johns there. So it makes me I get confused. But
well, John Lear, I used to listen a lot to John Lear when he was on Art Bell back in the day, and of course he's all over YouTube.
I don't like
and all
John
the
Lear.
Bob Lazar stuff.
Yeah, I don't like John Lear.
Well, it's just that the information that he's come out with over the years have seems to me to have to be partially truthful or truthful in some way.
What we were talking about is mapping the brain. And once your brain has been mapped, the idea of being able to upload that brain up somewhere else. And so the concept of that and the idea of a soul and what you guys are telling me you're saying that you think or conceive a soul may be some energy is what you're saying, some energy, and that translation of that energy is ones and zeros. And so there being code found in the very nature and fabric of the universe does suggest that this is some sort of simulation type idea that's going on. Because you have, and Bruce, you have this there's a camp that says this table in front of me is not there. It's only there because I think it's there. I see it there, and because I think it's there, it's there. But if I did turn my back on it, is it still there? Or does it render, when I see it? I mean, that's the idea, right, Epic Journeyman? It's not here, really, is it? It's not really solid.
If a tree falls in the forest, right?
Yeah, well, it's just, so the lesser beings on the planet sustain through their vision and observation the things that are manifested in reality. So that bug crawling on the bark of that tree manifests that tree perpetually until something else isn't looking at it. So the essence of life in that sense on the perpetual planet that we live on is manifested into this reality because of observation.
So
eliminating
the
duality of, the effect, right?
This
is what it is.
If I'm in virtual reality and I leave my parrot at the cafe and I walk away, I come back, the parrot's going to be there, right? But was it still there when I wasn't there?
Well,
or does it render?
AR? Yeah, you can leave it there for someone else. Yeah,
what I mean.
just like this idea.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if I'm beaming energy down to make my military operations work in places where there's no electricity, and if I'm using satellites to pinpoint precise locations and make someone have a heart attack, I would think that the mapping of the brain at a distance is probably possible too. Would you not say so?
The mapping of the brain is entirely possible. It's possible right now. I mean, that's we're seeing it right now. So when we're talking about somebody 100 years ahead of us, right? That's what I'm saying. It's all a matter of resolution. The more advanced technology gets, it's all about higher resolution. Whether you're talking about your TV, your VR headset, or your photographs.
Exactly. And you're bringing up an interesting point, Epic Journeyman. Because listen, let's take a look at where we are. So we're at a place where you're getting ready for ChatGPT 5 and 6 to come. You're in this place, and in this place already, things are getting better and better and better and better because the process is getting quicker, and it's not relying on humans to go through the mundane paperwork to come up with the idea. So things are getting better and better. When are things going to get so good, Epic Journeyman, that they just couldn't get any better? I mean, is there a point where things
always be able to get better?
Is there a point where is there some sort of static moment where things have gotten progressively better and better through technology that at some point you just reach this point of total bliss where you just sit there and you don't move?
Yeah, I think the secret of nirvana or heaven or eternal bliss is essentially that, of recognizing that the infinity of creation, that it's always there, right? And being part of it and praising the fact. They talk about praising God as if it's some kind of abstract thing that you're praising a man or something. No, it's not at all. It's about the idea of recognizing and realizing your inner creative ability. And that is your ability to propagate through the future of what is an eternal universe. So we're stuck in a universe that's going to end right now. It is. So there's no doubt about it. Entropy still rules here, but it doesn't have to.
Let me circle back around. Let me circle back around for Bruce. Bruce, now the concept is the soul energy. So each soul has a certain quantity of energy. Some souls may burn brighter than others, you may say. Some souls may be valuable.
All souls are the same.
So all souls are okay. So
what you might be referring to is the degree to which a person incarnate realizes they're a soul and manifests that soul.
Okay, so
the soul is the repository of all your past lives and present life experiences.
All right, so the soul then is what would be referred to as your wedding garment.
It's the diamond. It's the diamond, right?
But I mean, is it not the point for you to show up with a white wedding garment?
I don't want to go there.
Well, I'm trying to decide where you're going with it. Yeah, exactly. So the idea here is are you betrothed to a reality that is an analog reality, right? Or are you betrothed to a digital one? And so the facets of a diamond shine in the analog world. See, that's the difference. So I think that your soul is an analog representation of God's creation, and therefore not necessarily a diamond per se in physical reality, but It's the best metaphor possible. And the idea of going somewhere else.
So with the
purpose
of
is replicatable.
You're in a gross form, and so the purpose of your existence is to rise to the occasion or make the mark. And so through your existence in this plane of existence, when you get to the end of your run, your soul is going to go where because of what?
Man, powerful metaphor. You just made me think. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You realize the more cuts are on a diamond, the more beautiful and attractive it is, right? So every life you live, every circumstance you go through, is a cut on that diamond of the hardened carbon of the thing that's a perpetual to the point we transcend and go beyond this physical reality of our life on this physical universe. It's always a temptation to go one more cut. But the biggest hazard that represents a diamond is making one cut too many and breaking the diamond. See, that's you have to know when to quit. So so how many lives do you live before the one you just lived is the one you feel good with? Like, okay, that's as good as I'm going to be. That's it. I think my beauty that I've manifested is enough. Or do you go one more time and try to make it better, to make it shine and sparkle a little bit more brilliantly?
Well, I mean, the idea is that you don't get to go to the promised land unless you've reached a certain level of faith. So
yeah, well,
here's
let that cut be made,
here's this blob of a soul, and here's a human being on the earth, and there's a blob of a soul in this human being, and that human being time is up, moment of truth has arrived. Now it's a soul. It can go here or there, right? That's the idea, Bruce. It can go here or there. So there's two places it can go. It has potential to go here or there, right?
Well, your soul exists on a higher vibrational level, and it's connected to you by what's called the silver cord. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, of course.
Well, here's the thing that kind of is ironic about this whole transhumanism thing. They've got a real predicament. I used to hear people talk about freezing your brain and, like Walt Disney or whatever, there's no guarantee that the soul that attaches to whatever body they're going to try to create is going to be your soul. It could be someone else's soul.
Well, the thing is, the very concept of a soul is transhumanism. A soul.
Well, yeah, I guess you could
that's
say
a good
something
point.
beyond.
There's no guessing. There's no guessing. It is transhumanism. Epic Journeyman, is it not? I mean, aren't we not? That's where we're trying.
The idea that your soul survives and your body dies. That is transhumanism,
right? So
that's what it really is.
So
the problem with transhumanism might be that you try to escape that journey. So you're escaping the cut, right? You're saying no. I'm going to stay. The cut's already been made, but I'm going to stay longer because I like this particular facet of my life.
I got to get Bruce in here on this now because Bruce has done extensive work recently on his show with a bunch of stuff.
But
Bruce,
you got to.
Bruce, hang on. Let me ask
earlier that I got to double down on.
Okay, go ahead, and then I got to ask you a question. Go ahead.
You got to kind of let people come to it on their own. But one thing I will definitively say is what's attached to the silver cord is not your soul. That's your astral body. The soul is
right.
Okay. The soul is yeah. So there's just like a few grand divisions, but in each one there's sub-frequencies. So a lot of the stuff that's interacting with human beings now is basically we could say it's part of the 3D, 4D world. But it's operating at a slightly different frequency outside of our sound and light abilities with eyes and ears. So there's a sound frequency for the ear and there's a light frequency for the eye. But both are just very small percentages of what they presently understand to be the total spectrum of sound and light. So we come into these clay vessels, these bodies, and it's to have a very deliberate experience. So go ahead with your question, Jimmy.
Okay, yeah. So here we are. So now, based on this concept, so there's a soul, and so this soul, there's someone or there's an entity out there that must get more souls. It's like brains, I need more souls. So there's like this whole force out there signing people up to get their souls, Bruce. Is now when I gather these souls and I steal these souls away from God or from the Lord, if I steal these souls, do I have then captured this energy which I then use for my evil purposes when I cast my magic across the plane? Is that what the value of these souls are? Is the more souls the devil has, the more power he gains? Is that how that works?
Well, I don't think the devil collects souls per se. Actually, I talk extensively about the devil in my latest book. But what basically I would say I would say one of the biggest soul capturers on the planet right now is Taylor Swift. Do with that what you will.
All right, listen, we're at the top of the hour. We're going to take a break. It's into the microcosm. You can stick around, Randy. Mute your microphone. Bruce, give out that number.
Yep.
Bruce, give out the number before we take off for a break.
864-810-1039. 864-810-1039.
Hey, do you guys have a concept of your soul, what you think it is? Give us a call. Let us know what you think. I really want to suss this out tonight because this is I'm starting to see a correlation between the soul and the ones and zeros that can be uploaded into the, where do they go, Bruce? The cloud up there? Devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for a soul to steal. Down boy. $864. What's that number, Bruce?
810-1039.
864-810-1039. 864-810-1039. King Buffalo burning. So there's like a sales force out there with pens in their pockets, just coming around with a piece of paper trying to get you to sign over your soul. So we've been joined by Raz. Did you see him there, Bruce?
I did, Jimmy, yeah.
Come on in, brother Raz. Now, where's
How you doing, Raz?
What's up with the soul, Raz?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're good. Now, does the soul vibrating at a frequency? I mean, is that what's going on? What can I upload my soul? Can I upload my memories into the cloud?
Well, yeah, of course you can. You do that every time. It's just we don't call it cloud. We call it Akashic record. Like you have a planetary version of it. You have your own version of it. There's a galaxy version of it and a universal version of it. So it's like a server in a server in a server in a server, 4 times over.
So it's like a virtual switch, you might say.
Yeah, it's like a Russian doll, if you will.
Epic journeyman.
Actually, the whole soul thing is like a Russian doll, because earlier someone said you're connected to your soul with a silver cord. Yeah, and there are multiple other yous out there on the planet that are connected to the same soul.
Now, Bruce just
it's
said,
not just you.
Bruce just said your soul wasn't connected to the silver cord. Bruce,
that's your astral body.
There you go.
Just your astral body, yeah.
Astral
your
body.
astral
Yeah,
body,
well-
and then to your physical body.
So all of the major operating systems. Holy cow, man! It's just a call-in bonanza here.
Badass.
All of the major faculties of a human being are like a separate body. So you've got the physical, and it represents a consciousness, which is why we're always chasing tail, right? Because the body just wants to procreate. It don't have to pay child support. It's impulse-driven. I'm hungry. I'm horny.
Right.
Then you have your sensual thinking, and this is basically your sensual and somewhat aesthetic thinking. This is your astral body, and it's a completely separate system. It survives after the body dies. Then you've got your causal body, and this is where all your records are of your lives and everything. And then you've got a mental body, which merges with what we call the universal mind, which is, by the way, to decrypt it all for people, is Luciferianism. Luciferianism is the study and celebration of mind, because it's the highest state of consciousness you can achieve without giving up your I am, your ego. Okay?
So,
and then after that, you
was-
just go into the spiritual regions, and
What-
it's just
Was
inexpressible.
Lucifer a Venetian? I'm just saying
No, I
because
think-
because
I
they
think he was
say
from Bangladesh.
isn't that the morning star, Venus?
Yeah.
Isn't that
Yeah.
don't they say that's Lucifer? Don't they get all in an uproar whenever anything has to do with Venus? They start saying it's Lucifer.
Well, there's an
Well-
interesting thing about Venus. Sorry to interrupt, but there's something interesting about Venus, right? It's the brightest thing we see in the sky outside the sun. It's the brightest thing outside the moon in the night sky, barring some kind of celestial event like a comet or something. And yet, you know, this bright star, the light we see when you go to the planet is a literal hellscape. There's 900 and some odd degrees on the planet's surface and just a literal hell. Isn't that strange?
It
That
is
the metaphor
strange.
for the devil and for hell by association.
Well, let me ask you
is
this question.
Venus.
I see we've been joined by several people there, Bruce. So just hang on. But let me ask this question, because this is a question lots of people ask. There's a difference between Satan or the devil and Lucifer.
Not really.
Well, they say there is, man, because
They don't know.
Well, I'm just saying. Do you know?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so what's the difference?
Well, first of all, they're not entities or beings as you would define an entity or a being. Okay, they're more like energetic constructs and states of mind. Okay, so to say that Lucifer is a being with a personality would be to say that pot is a being. You know, marijuana is a being. Now, you could actually make the case convincingly that marijuana has a spiritual character and is a being and has been imbued by creation into this plant.
But listen,
do you see where I'm going with
I
this?
I do. But to see the world we're living in, people hear the word Lucifer and they hear the word Satan and they think of the same thing.
Who's they, Jimmy? Some Christian cracker with a grade 8 education worshiping under a tent.
All right. Well, listen. Lots of people have their own beliefs, and everyone's entitled to their own way of being, Bruce. So,
Yeah, sure,
but the point I'm trying to make is, when you see some Shriner guy going, "Yeah, Lucifer, man. Oh yeah, I love Lucifer." What he's talking about is not Satan. What are the Masons talking about when they're talking about Lucifer? Because isn't Lucifer the light bringer, the one that brought knowledge?
Yeah, the light bringer. Yeah,
The mind.
light bearer.
Mind,
The
exactly.
mind.
Exactly.
So
By the way-
the mind is actually a geography outside of the.
Bruce just froze, man.
Wait, this whole light bringing thing, does it ties to Prometheus?
Yeah,
because
of
I
course
know
it
they
does.
love.
Bruce froze.
They
right?
love the Prometheus.
Bruce
Yeah,
froze.
Starlink there, Bruce.
What's that?
Well, yeah, no, that happens with Starlink actually. So there's satellite arrays. I can speak from experience. What happens is when one array goes over and then the next one comes over, there's a couple seconds sometimes where it'll go between the array.
Bruce, you were
And
about to make a really great
Did
point.
I cut out there?
Yeah, you did. What
Yeah,
were you going to say?
but yeah, it's only for a second. It's typical Starlink. That's okay.
I want that prorated off my $63 a month. I'm writing a letter to Elon. You owe me 0.8 of a cent, buddy.
So knowledge.
It's so great the rest of the time. Though,
so
man.
listen, knowledge, the light bringer. There's the knowledge and the light bringer, and then there's the guy who's in the burning hell that wants souls, which is Satan. Are they the same person or the same entity or the same? What's the difference, Epic Journeyman? I mean, this is a question that comes up.
I can tell you what I think it is. It doesn't mean it's true. So Lucifer means light bearer, right? So if you make the analogy to Venus, we could say that it's bearing the light, reflecting the light, but on the surface of Venus is 900 degrees in a methane, terrible place, right? Not just methane, but other gases, right? It couldn't survive on the surface there, but it provides the light that we all see. So it's a light bearer, right? But if you look at it from the perception of creating an artificial replication of reality, then you could say that the serpent in the garden was the caretaker, the AI construct, if you will. We make an analogy to today. It's not necessarily an AI, but say that it is, and that it was representing God's intention on this creation.
Why did they?
And it decided to take it for itself, right? And then so the reason you need souls is that if we're talking about the souls being like diamonds that reflect back the light shined on them, right, to sustain reality and to sustain the creation of light, then the way that you make an artificial replication of it is to take those souls and redirect that light, to make that facet bigger on one side, to direct it the way you want it to go. That is the essence of what the battle between good and evil is, I think.
Yeah.
Here's something.
Well, so what is the idea? Why is Jesus also associated with Venus and the morning star? Why is there a correlation between the idea?
Because he was Lucifer.
Lucifer. Here's something. I've heard it said.
I tried to tell you this 3 years ago, but you weren't ready to hear.
Try to tell me. You tried to tell me 3 years
off air.
ago.
We were having this conversation off air 3-4 years ago, and I just laid it on you, and there was 15 seconds of silence, and then I think I went to NFL football or something.
Oh, really? Well, hey, Bruce, man, I've been around a lot longer than I've known you. Just so you know.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
All right.
But Lucifer and Jesus are probably the same figure. Okay.
Well, that's what they're going to try to make people think. I've heard it said that the Statue of Liberty is a statue of Lucifer.
Well, let me ask you this question.
If you think of Columbia Pictures, same thing.
Let me ask you this question. Is there an AI Lucifer? Because there is an AI Jesus. So
there is an AI Lucifer. The AI is Lucifer. It always has been. I mean, in my opinion, it is. It is.
All right, listen.
So
let's get to some of these calls.
Let me try and go at this another way, Jimmy. Okay, so think of it this way. We don't create anything. No human being has ever invented anything. Everything already exists. It just needs an agent incarnated to materialize it in the 3D reality. So Christ would be one of the highest vibrations of the light body we've seen in a human body. Okay, so we worship him as God. Tesla would be a guy who held vast regions of the universal mind. He could contain it in his incarnation. Okay, and when you look at the sensual body, the astral body, this would be like Cleopatra. Would be an incredible example of like almost like as much of the astral plane as possible embodied in a single physical incarnation. Okay? This is why in India, when somebody hits saint status, they call him the God man, God in the body, because the body has become the home of God because they're conscious, their ego has been destroyed. They just live in these higher regions. And if you're ever around one of these people, they just radiate love and energy, and it's like you smell flowers and there's no flowers. You literally there are scents associated with them, and with the negative there's sense associated with that too. It's usually like rotting flesh and stuff like that, right? So are we going to get a physical manifestation of Satan? Yes, Now, Satan would represent all that which consumes and destroys, like Shiva. Okay? Now, this is a natural process here. You want bodies to decompose, right? Would you want to live in a world where people who died 100,000 years ago are still lying and they're dead, but the bodies are still there and lifeless? No. So we need decomposition, right? So the negative agents in our theologies represent decomposition. And that's why we always hate them. The butterfly and the cockroach. The cockroach does 100 times the work of a butterfly in the natural order, but we love the butterfly. We hate the cockroach, right? So this is another way of looking at it. It's about like embodying these things.
All right, let's get to some of these calls, man. Let's get to some of these calls now. Who else is on here, Bruce? We got
347. I don't know if Raz got everything out he wanted to say. We didn't give him much time. Raz,
Sorry,
are you
Raz.
good?
Yeah, I'm good. I
Okay,
mean,
stand by,
there's
Raz.
so many people
Stand-
talking about soul is just crazy.
All right, it's crazy. Crazy talk. All right, listen.
So I want to elaborate on that. It is kind of crazy talk, right? But that's why nobody talks about it.
I know, that's why we're talking about it, because that's why I'm saying.
If you think about it, there is context. There is.
Because
what is the bridge between the spiritual God breathing life into things in creation and the spirit that we have that perpetuates after?
I'm saying that
that
human,
land bridge, if you will, the bridge,
listen,
the bridge, Heimdall's bridge, the rainbow bridge, the diamond, the rainbow bridge, right, is the soul.
Well,
Hey, Bruce.
Since somebody,
Yes,
you guys
John
mind
D.
If I jump in here,
347. Come on in.
I-
347. Come on in here.
We're
Yeah,
putting the
I was gonna-
stompers
I
on
was
you there,
gonna
John D.
say-
John D, let 347 speak.
Okay.
yeah. Well, my name is John Z. I absolutely do not know Bruce McDonald.
Oh,
I've
John
never met
Z
him
and John
before.
D on the same call.
That's funny. Okay,
How
listen.
ironic. Eh?
Anyway,
Long time, brother.
Hey, 604, mute your microphone, please. 604, mute your microphone. Okay, go ahead, John. John Z.
Just real quick, you guys are talking about souls a lot. I'm not going to get too far into my crazy experience with it, but nobody mentioned it, so I guess I'll just throw it out there and see what you guys think of it. When you're talking about a soul that's getting popping out of someone's body, whether by force or natural causes or whatever, a lot of people don't know this, but especially if it's being trying to be manipulated, your soul will actually go up towards the ceiling or a tree or something above your body, and it actually gets a pure gold outer shell, making it kind of impossible for anything to mess with it. And one of the things I always found really interesting about, like you guys are saying about throwing souls around and the soul energy, a lot of people might remember 2012 when they thought the world was ending or something, but all that was kind of like a unification of the timelines, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you
So,
this.
long story short, go ahead.
John Z, did you see the movie Pulp Fiction?
Yes.
Okay, did you see that Band-Aid on the back of Marcellus Wallace's neck?
I did.
So they say that Band-Aid is there because his soul got sucked out of the back of his neck right there, and what was in that briefcase was his soul.
That's interesting.
Is it possible through that? Is it possible?
Cool. Never heard that before.
Listen, I'm saying, is it possible to affect a living person's soul by sucking it out?
Like I said,
Bruce,
like I said, you can do certain things. So I'm not going to go into super detail, but you can forcefully pop a soul out of the body if you're trying to work on the body for an extended period of time. And this is where you get your Manchurian candidates or your sleeper cells, whatever name you want to call them. they go through this process, and it takes months.
Mm-hmm.
And while the soul is up there protecting itself, and they're doing off whatever they're doing to the bodies, it's just chilling up out there, just hanging out, waiting to go back. So, give you another example. Let's say a really crazy one. Let's just say you died in another timeline. They can actually physically pick up your soul, so to speak. I heard somebody call it a soul catcher. Kind of like that, but not really. And they can throw it into a cloned body. But the thing about souls and bodies is that they have to have the same or similar frequencies. And so if you ever tried to throw your soul into a live and able-bodied person, you would be fighting with that person on an energetic level. And whoever wins that battle wins that battle. And I think there's a couple movies that go into it, but I'm forgetting their names.
So in the moment that these souls are in this protection mode where they're not in the body, is that the moment that other entities can then enter into that particular human form? Is that a moment? Go ahead, Bruce.
They definitely can do that, but usually what's happening is they're programming the mind, like you were talking about. There's many ways to manipulate the mind, and we don't have to get into them. You guys already know, I'm sure.
So, Bruce, is this the moment where the second personality would develop around? Is this so the soul has now left the body? The body is here now, going through the trauma of the mind control. Go ahead.
No, so I guess you guys don't know. I'm sorry. Let me back up a little bit. So what'll happen generally if they start really, really young, around 6 or younger, they'll do whatever they can to mentally break that child, whether it's starving them, leaving them in a cold cell, splashing water on them. You get the idea. And so what that does is it's going to put the mind into a
alternate personality.
No, it's going to put it into a self-preservation state. So it's going to block out. Well, we're getting there because the personality hasn't developed yet. So it's basically like reliving trauma. Like if you get into a car crash and you remember something from years ago, that's kind of how it works. So all those things are possible, but generally there's a longer conditioning process before you
What is that clicking sound? Do you guys hear that?
I do.
Now it's stopped.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
I don't know what you're saying there. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's generally a much longer process before you would ever get someone's soul out to start programming them. And just one last quick thing, because you guys did mention it. The brain transfer into a computer. Now, I could be wrong on the datedness, or they could have tried again. But the story I got was in the 60s that they tried this. Now, they tried to put a human brain scan, and they tried to put a demotic entity into it. Tried to create some kind of weird, wacky AI. Now, that was obviously before the 80s and 90s, and everyone had 56K modems.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they tried it again afterward, but, I just figured I'd mention that.
I do want to tie in what you just said about creating the MK Ultra alter personality in the sex slave kind of thing, which is so prominent in modern literature today in the underworld of alternative media. I call it underworld because most people in the public don't know about it. You have to know Fritz Springmeier and that kind of thing to really understand where that came from. Of or have read his works, or at least be associated with it. But I'll say this, like the rainbow connection thing, that is absolutely ties. I mean, absolutely ties what I was talking about earlier. So we're talking about the fracturing of the diamond, right? That it's these alters to each facet being individual, apart from the others, right? So this fracturing of the soul is the rainbow connection that's talked about earlier in the thread of this chat we've been talking about. That is what that is, right? The rainbow connection is each spectrum being split from the other. The red, the blue, the orange, the yellow, and each one of those means something different. It's a different personality, unbeknownst to the person who has been fractured. That diamond has been split. That is the secret of MK Ultra mind control.
Correct, but there's also a different way to do it, or at least what they were doing up until 2012. And I'm sure everyone's heard of the Philadelphia experiment and all the stuff that went on with all that. Long story short on that, what they were doing, they were actually harvesting entire timelines to basically do their bidding. So they would create a wormhole, create a timeline, and take people's souls out and do them pretty dirty, and then put them in a lot of weird and suicidal situations, just for context. And there's so you wind up with the physical fracturing of multiple personalities, and on the flip side, when everything got unified a couple years ago, more than a couple now, you had to deal with the psychic backlash of that coming and excuse me, that coming back and coming together and dealing with the other part of it.
Isn't the idea of the original series Star Trek of the transporter, so the disassembly and the disassembly here and the reassembling there? And so if the concept of frequencies, electrical theory, and combined with light, or is it possible just particles just reassembling ourselves in some form that's acceptable on whatever planet we're born into? So our soul
being tuned.
Go ahead.
Being tuned, right?
In tune, yeah, exactly. Being tuned, right? So are we tuned now for the Earth?
Star Trek beam technology you're talking about is based on particle physics. The universe we live in is much more complex than particle physics, because you can't just molecularly disassemble someone and reassemble them somewhere else and they'll be the same person. You will have to take a lot more packages with them. So
it's entanglement.
Clearly, you've never been married.
But though the concept of putting an aspect of you someplace else where you sense everything.
Ways I know how to do it. There's three ways I know how to do what you're asking me. The first one is that they hook you up to a I don't even know what to call it. It's just basically it would look like a headband with a bunch of LEDs on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be one way to actually transfer your consciousness, so to speak, over to a different time, a different timeline, however you want to call that.
Mm-hmm.
The third is literally just, like I said before, snatching you out of whatever reality you're in, creating that wormhole and just taking you and popping you into another body. And the third is cloning, which is pretty self-explanatory. But
we brought up
sometimes goes wrong.
We've brought up the concept on the show recently. Bruce, you're there. Okay. We brought up the concept recently that when a person say they meet their moment of truth here on Earth, and they pass away here, that they just wake up from a dream someplace else. And so that just continues on and on and on. You just keep waking up from a dream someplace else. What about that?
I'll give you an example. I'll give you two examples that happened to me. The first one I remember is just literally being an old man hiking up a hill, and poof, you know, that was it. That was the end of that existence for me. But the more prominent one was getting slammed back into my body in middle school. And if you ever seen somebody fall from space, you can imagine the velocity that you would have, or close to space anyway, the velocity that you would have when you would come back down to Earth. And my friend still remembers it to this day. My head hit that table so hard, it left a dent in it.
Damn.
The table or your head?
I don't know. I mean, he told me I had a melon head, so I don't know if it's dentable.
Hey, so
shut up now, guys.
Yeah, well, no, the chat's active. I've got a bunch of people over here, and we're doing pretty well on TalkStream Live. It's into the microcosm. It's Friday night. We got about 30 minutes left. You want to call back in? Go ahead and give out the number, Bruce. And we have
864-810-1039. 864-810-1039.
And we'll be joined by Chris from the UK. Chris, you're muted, so come on in, brother. How you doing?
Howdy doody. I'm doing good.
All right. So what sparked you to call in now? Do you have some ideas about the soul, or do you have some ideas about some of what we've been talking about here tonight?
Well, I can guarantee you we all have souls, and my belief is that they're eternal. When it comes down to the soul, there is no beginning and no end. It just is. It's energy. And I think Einstein said, what did Einstein say, Bruce?
Energy never dies, it just changes form.
Changes form, right. And so we just change form from one form to another, and we continue to do that over eons, right? But the primary reason I called in, I wanted to just welcome everybody listening in over there on independentbroadcasting.com. It's we got people from New York, Ohio, Hamilton City in the Bahamas.
Nice.
Tennessee, Alberta, New York, North Carolina, Texas, North Carolina, Kentucky, British Columbia, California, and 2 people here in England.
Sweet. Well, listen.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome. So now listen. Take a listen to this.
What if you held the key to unlocking the universe's mysteries, and all it took was 3 numbers, 3, 6, 9. Imagine a code, a numerical sequence so potent, so profound that it could hold the secret to the cosmos itself. This isn't a plot from a science fiction novel, but a concept deeply rooted in the enigmatic realm of numerology, and it's known as the 369 method. These 3 numbers, seemingly simple and ordinary, are said to hold a resonance, a vibration that echoes through the very fabric of reality. They are, as some would say, the numerical signatures imprinted on the universe's blueprint. Now you might be wondering, where does this idea originate? The answer takes us back to the late 19th and early 20th century, to a man who was as much a genius as he was a mystery, Nikola Tesla. The renowned inventor once stated, "If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have the key to the universe."
Does anybody on this call know the magic of the 3, 6, and 9? Epic Journeyman.
I have the 9.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I have an idea.
Number 9. So after you get past 3, everything adds to 9.
Okay, Bruce,
multiply
go ahead.
3 times 6 is 18. That's 9. If you multiply
It's divisible by 3. They're all multiples of 3. So 3 is the sacred number.
Trinity, right? So it's a trinity, and then you go from the trinity. It all adds to 9. Always comes up at 9.
What's 6 plus 6 plus 6?
18 equals 9. Number 9. Yeah.
Number 9.
So 3 times 6 is 18, right? Times 6 is 54, which is 9. You can't get away from it, right? So 3 is the base, that's the Trinity, and everything else is 9.
The Trinity. The Holy Trinity. Huh. Is that why they call it the Holy Trinity? Is that why there's
I don't know.
Is that why there's a Father, a Son, and the Holy Ghost? There's 3 of them. The 3?
Yeah. Well, in body, soul, spirit. So they represent those things on that level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go back to the thing about Heimdall and the Rainbow Bridge. The Rainbow Bridge isn't the soul. That wasn't what I was saying.
No.
I'm saying that the Rainbow Bridge is access to all the other realms in the Nordic mythology, right? So by crossing the Rainbow Bridge, you get into all access to all the other ethereal realms, right? And that's heaven, right? The access to heaven is through the Rainbow Bridge. The Rainbow Bridge is the soul. But what if the crystal we're talking about, this diamond earlier, is actually the very thing that is the artificial replication of reality, the physical presence of the replication of God? We talked about the soul being energy. But what if that's absolutely true and there is no physical manifestation at all? I mean, and the physical manifestation that we make is actually the artificial replication of the construct. It depends upon the reflection of this. Because, okay, what did Jesus say? Let your light so shine before men. Don't hide your light under a bushel, right? So reflect back the light given to you. God's light gets reflected back and sustains the goodness of the universe. Well, what about the idea that gets into a construct? And that's the crystal. So in the sense, so we're talking about the soul catcher. The soul catcher is actually the thing that makes these diamonds, harvests these souls, replications thereof, and makes the artificial realm possible.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just went on a rant. But
Bruce, give out that number again.
864-810-1039. 864-810-1039.
It's into the microcosm Friday night. Somehow we've gotten into the soul. So now, have you ever heard of the idea of a soul trap?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Yes, I have.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and...
Carcosa? You know Carcosa?
Go ahead and tell us what you know about the soul trap there, Chris from the UK. And then Epic Journeyman after he's done jumping.
It involves my addiction. I think my addictions were a soul trap because it involved total possession of my will and my inner thoughts, and I actually felt like I was possessed, at one point, and my soul had a lot to do with me and my recovery, right? That one little teeny piece of me that was left at the very, very end was the piece of me that, when I talked about the Grinch earlier today with Bruce, that's the piece of me that grew 3 times, and when I was given the mercy and the grace of another life, and it was a big deal to me.
Well, that might have trapped your soul, but I mean, that's your personal story, but it's a little bit beyond just that. So,
yeah.
So, Epic Journeyman, now, some say that fear, or the emotion of fear, is actually a soul trap. It keeps
that's possible. That's possible. I think it's hiding. It's a soul trap. The hiding your light under a bushel is a soul trap, right? So when you think about things, it always comes back to Christianity, unfortunately for me. But if you I don't say it's unfortunate, it's a good thing. But if you look at it from the concept of the 7 deadly sins, what are they? They're motives, right? They're things that keep you hiding you from putting your light before men. If you're lustful, you're going to hide something about you. If you're greedy, you're going to hide that about your character. If you all these other things, man, they all tie in. Wrenching up, blocking off your light shining.
Look, man, I'll go deep on this right now. I want to, so Bruce or anybody on this call, how does your action of lust, for example, how does that reflect on your soul? In other words, what does it do to your soul? Does it tarnish you, or does it lessen your flame, or what does it exactly do when you go against these moral ideas that are here in our civilization?
Okay. First of all, I don't think it has anything to do with morality.
Okay.
It's about where you want to be. Okay? So, if you live through the body, you're basically saying you want to keep coming back into the body.
Uh-huh.
Okay? So, when you use the body, you're possibly going to create life because that's the real reason for sexuality, right? So you're basically committing to something here. So we'll get back to the idea of a soul trap. Most people who get soul trapped get trapped in their own creation, what they create. Okay? Now, what's the devil? The devil is what eggs you on to do that, or what defends your free will right to do that, even though it's contrary to God. That's the energy that comes into your consciousness and blocks God. Otherwise, basically, no devil, no free will. That's a weird thing to say out loud. Let me repeat that. No devil, no free will. Okay? So people just don't understand how this works. I didn't for quite a while either. I had to write it all down. But so we create our own soul traps. Every single thing you see on this life, on this planet, including what's going on in the Gaza right now, including the starving babies in Africa. When you understand spiritually what's going on, every single thing is voluntary. There isn't a victim on the planet. Okay?
No, I mean, that's the harshest reality people have to come from, is they're supposed specifically responsible for whatever their situation is. Nobody else is. The reason doesn't lie in somebody else.
The Greeks did us no favor when they created tragedy. Tragedy is spiritual pornography.
But
that's what it is.
Yeah, I want to point out, though, I want to ask the question rather than point out. I want to ask the question that, so the difference between what's right and what's wrong, is right and wrong the same as good and evil?
Well,
go ahead.
Right and wrong is in modern time. Right and wrong is basically an economic principle.
Well, so right and wrong in this moment is what we say it is now. What's right and what's wrong now is the way things are, Epic Journeyman. So the thing is, if right and wrong is not synonymous with good and evil, is it? Because
no, I think making the fastest of the diamond I talked about earlier, even though that might be an artificial construct, the idea is still the same: shining and reflecting back the light of creation. The idea that this fast is shining back and perpetuating the light that exists. Okay, if you have any of these things, we're talking about the 7 deadly sins, which are motives, but there are things that keep you from shining one facet of that diamond out. So if you're gluttonous, right, you're gonna hide that gluttony. You're gonna eat instead of doing something else. If you're greedy, you're gonna take rather than give, and you're gonna shut off that facet of your diamond. If you're slothful, you're gonna let everything go to hell. Basically, no pun intended. I don't mean it that way. Just because you're too lazy to do something about it. If you're wrathful, that's a big one right now. Actually, in the world today, you're so angry, you're blinded by your anger. You can't. That's shut off to you. You're not perpetuating the light because you shut that light off from you. The good things you should say in the comments people around you.
The point I'm trying to get at,
pride,
the point I'm trying to get at is because you do something that's morally wrong doesn't mean you're an evil person. Doesn't mean that your heart doesn't mean your heart is black and you're coming. So what I'm saying is, if you do something
then there's a black diamond, isn't there?
There is, but if you do something that's morally wrong, does that make you a bad person from a soul perspective to preclude you from going to a place that's called heaven or a place that's called hell because you did something that was wrong or against what it says in the Bible?
No.
Can I take a shot at this?
Please, yeah, go ahead.
So, this may be TMI for too many people, but so I was in the military and I've actively transitioned from female to male twice, fully front to back, twice. Now, many people will say that's wrong for a number of reasons. And I can't really disagree with all of them. But the reason I chose to do it is that for me, there was a lot less there was a lot less male tension when I was talking with other males. Meaning, every guy, at least, I don't know, I would say probably 40 or above, know that there's a real danger. If you cross a certain line, you can get punched in your face for something you say. And I think everyone can agree on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for me, it took away that just spark, and I never changed anything about myself other than my physical appearance. The way I talked, the way I did things, nothing. It changed almost nothing. So, like I said, a lot of people will say that's bad. You shouldn't do that. But to me, it makes a lot of sense because, it lessens the stress that I have to deal with everything else, with the circus going around in my mind 24/7. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
I forget the question.
I don't think it's. Yeah, I don't think it's going to trap my soul or stop me from moving on. It's just my personal preference. And just a real quick tidbit. That's probably why no one will actually let me talk to these kids that are trying to transition, because what they really don't realize is the person that they are, they're going to have to psychically destroy themselves, whether they're male or female, whatever. They're going to have to actively destroy that personality to become that new person. And that's what all that therapy is supposed to lead up to, which is, in the old days, I think it was 6 months. I did mine in a month because I actually knew what I was doing, and I had broken my personality once or twice before. These kids nowadays get zero counseling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give out that
So
phone. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The point of alchemy is to become a hermaphrodite, right? If you go back to medieval times, to merge the male and the female energies, and there's a problem with that, in that I think when you start off in any religious text, of course we use the Bible here in the West, about how even though the female energy was taken from Adam, given something to cleave to, it was still the same entity, the same creation, essentially. Right. In other words, the yin and the yang. The whole thing was about this perpetual balance. And when Eve was created in the biblical, I'll call it a parable. I don't know if it's a historical fact or not. But then the idea is that it gave something, because it's to combat loneliness, right? The separation between the two is an ability to combat the loneliness that existed otherwise. Even though Adam had everything, he had a paradise to live in, he could name every animal in creation, that was his job, name everything in creation in the biblical text, he still missed something, right? Because, and that was part of him that had to be manifest for him to embrace, literally and figuratively, which procreates our civilization to this day.
I can't disagree with anything you just said because it made sense. But that's not the way I see it, and it's not the way I still see it. It's just the way I feel, And
I don't think people transition because they think of themselves as being Adam. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm sorry, but I think that the very concept of that, the yin and yang, the male and female energies, is something that has to be addressed at some point, right? And it's like light and dark in a physical universe, but light and dark aren't necessarily good and evil either, right? So you have to think about it in that way.
Yeah.
I also think, though, that there are, this may be a little bit too out there, I think there are other, let's just call it species out there where male and female aren't a thing.
Yeah.
I think the sheep's head fish is one right here on the Earth. They're all born female and they become males at some point. Some of them. Yeah.
I think he's talking about sentient species like extraterrestrials.
Yeah. I would guarantee, almost guarantee, I don't know, Bruce, if we met any extraterrestrials for sure, but I'd say that the majority are, absolutely asexual. I think that's unique to the Earth, actually.
Most aren't.
You have met extraterrestrials and they're not asexual?
Most are.
One's met
So
everything.
The ones,
No joke.
well, not everything, but the ones that are
Everything's bad.
created, like the Greys and all that stuff, they're definitely not meant to reproduce. But the ones that are just I don't know, just natural, just kind of doing their thing like we do. Yeah, they're male and female, and there are a couple that are just, they can switch it whenever they want. You would never know.
Yeah.
I think there's a greatness in the idea that you can meet your mate, and your mate's part of you. I think I don't know if that's unique to the Earth or not, but there's a lot of things that appear to be unique to Earth. They appear to be.
Yeah. Agreed.
I'm still caught up in this idea of the soul and particles, and the reassembling of those particles somewhere down the line. I'm just saying, Bruce, how does someone, in other words, I'm just saying, let's say I was a soldier in the Civil War, okay? Mm-hmm. And then I'm born now and I'm living now, but somehow I'm getting memories back from my life as a soldier in the Civil War. So what I'm saying is, when I'm going and I turn to these particles and this energy, that's this soul, and then I'm born again, how do I reach? I mean, is not the reassembling? Go ahead.
So it's...
Your soul isn't fractured. What you're remembering is a past life, and there could be a lot of different reasons on that. And I'll let Bruce take that. But yeah, you can fracture your soul, but that's not what's happening here.
Bruce.
So the thing to understand about the soul is you'll never come up with a single definable aspect of the soul. And the reason is the entire premise of definition is based on deconstruction, which is largely a Western habit, okay? Think of the soul as the unification of the subject and object, just like we were talking about the extraterrestrials unifying male and female. So our entire reality is defined by us, the subject, looking out through our eyes. There's my wall, here's my microphone, and these are objects, and I, the subject, Bruce, I'm looking at them. When you get up to the level of the soul, all of that collapses. You're everything all at once. It's an indescribable state of mind. It can only be experienced. I just, you see, we're so habitual in the language, I just made a mistake there. It's not a state of mind. It's the final state of being, okay? And it cannot be deconstructed. And it cannot be given object definitions.
So what you're telling me is that I better value every single millisecond that I am on this earth as a human being, because let me tell you something, I don't look forward to just being particles floating around in space, even though that may be a hot... Go ahead.
It's really interesting you say that, because I've done that a couple times. Twice was in a coffin, but that's a different story. But it was really interesting because I got to reconnect with my entire higher self. And although I didn't remember it when I got back into my body, I was able to figure out, yes, I voted, I volunteered for this. I knew what was coming. And this is, pretty much the school of hard knocks.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with something called the all?
No.
The all exists everywhere all the time. And that consciousness and mind are aspects of the all. And so consciousness and mind are not the same thing. And so I would say that, in my opinion, consciousness would be more associated with the soul, and mind would be more of the personality of a person. So what you think, who you are, all this is one thing, but a consciousness is something else, and that flows through everything. that you're either connected to.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, your consciousness can detach from your body, your mind, but at least the way I think of it, someone correct me if I'm wrong or you think differently. A consciousness is kind of like your one state of this personality of this experience, if that makes any sense. Does that make any sense to anyone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you look at it the way I was talking about the faceted diamond, and you look at it being harvested as a nefarious thing, then what you're talking about is being used as a switch. You reflect back the light a particular way because you are the master of that switch, which means your consciousness is your soul in that essence, right? And that's an aspect. So your physical manifestation, your body, soul, spirit, right? Your consciousness, your ability to make decisions is your soul. And your spirit is the energy that passes through you and among you all the time. So spirit, you have your own spirit.
Sorry, I missed a call there. Sorry, call back 2-1. Here we go. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, that's okay. I just don't know for a fact these things. Well, this is where philosophy comes in, right? This is really a truly philosophical conversation in the sense that these are things that people have batted around their heads for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think it's close to that.
We got a caller, Bruce?
214. I don't know where that is.
214, come on in.
That's right here. This is Brent Howell.
Oh, hey, Brent.
The soul, indescribably delicious, right?
Uh-huh. How many licks does it take to get to the center?
Well, I'm just looking at the great intellectual power we have pumping out here to arrive at the conclusion that really, at the soul level, it's indescribable in the English language, probably, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But then I want to also give you a fact. Venus will be the first to rise over the horizon again. It's been in the lead for quite some time, and it'll be rising here in Dallas at about 5:25 a.m. and 15 hundredths of a second. Okay.
Thanks for calling, Brent.
Well, at least we
All
don't have to deal with the werewolves on Mars.
Yeah, Venus is rising. Go watch it. I don't know.
There's werewolves.
Do, you know.
John Z.
Do whatever you want to do.
John Z, there's werewolves on Mars.
Yeah.
No, there's not werewolves on Mars, but there are.
Nothing's on Mars.
Up there.
It's not even solid.
No,
I'll see you later. Bye.
There he goes, Brent.
There are beings up on Mars, and there is a planet filled with werewolves.
We're out of time. John Z, thanks for calling. Call back anytime. Bruce McDonald, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Pacific. It's freeworld.fm, revolution.radio, independent broadcast network.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
It's almost hard to...
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Christmas.
We'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific on YouTube, Independent Broadcast Network, and freeworld.fm. Thanks for being here. Thanks, Bruce. Thanks, Raz.
Okay.
Thanks, John Z. Thanks, the amazing Randy. Thanks, Chris from the UK. Thanks, everybody. We're on our way out. Revolution Radio. Come on down, become a supporter before it's too late.
Just one push can end it all together. Why can't we learn from the plague that surrounds us? A glance at you and me, learn from my mistakes. There's no shoulder to cry on. coming. I can't look when covered by the nothing and the suffering. Learn from my mistakes. Learn from this mistake. Learn from my mistakes. Learn from their mistakes.
All right, we're clear from all those networks, Epic Journeyman. If you want to come in and say Merry Christmas to everybody, in case they won't be around tomorrow.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our Christmas show.
Yeah, we'll have a...
You know what? You know what we did? We gave the greatest ornament to cap your Christmas tree with.
What's that?
The diamond of our soul, reflecting everything back.
There you go.
Bright brilliance of its light.
The Rainbow Bridge. All right, you guys ready to bone out? I got to go get something to eat. So let's go, man. You ready to go, Epic Journeyman?
Let's do it.
All right, see you guys tomorrow. All right, dude, I think that's it.